Yo, right now we should be live. I should be live. The mic should be working. And hopefully we ain't got no technical issues right now. But yo, Con, what's going on, brother? Let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. We are going to talk about no one else. The man himself, the cash cow of boxing, one of the biggest superstars of the sport of boxing. Now, we know that Canelo Alvarez, he gets a lot of love. A lot of fans, they love this man. A lot of fans from Mexico and across the pond and even in England, they love Canelo Alvarez. But there's a lot of fans who hate the man. There's a lot of media which don't like the guy. And there's also media which love the guy. Canelo Alvarez is the topic on Rap Star Boxing Knowledge. Yo, we're going to talk about the man himself, King Nello, Cartello, Mr. Cash Cow of boxing, the pound for pound fighter of the world, Canelo Alvarez. Yo, can somebody please tell me if you guys can hear me loud and clear? I'm asking the simple question because we got technical issues and I don't know what's going on with the live. But somebody tell me if you can hear us loud and clear. Now we're going to get it going. And let's do it. Hey, we got Joker in the building. We got Anthony Wall. We got Faisal in the building. We got some rando in the building. And we got T-Pop. Now we are going to get some special guests are coming in. We got some people which work hard in boxing. We got some of the biggest names in boxing. You know what I'm saying? We're supposed to have a couple of guests, and we got some big names coming in shortly as we cook. But yo, ladies and gentlemen, before I get going and talking about this live and this debate, we need the haters. Where is the Canelo Alvarez haters? We need the Canelo Alvarez haters, the Canelo Alvarez fans, and just the boxing fans. We need everybody in the building. I'm going to send the link for the Canelo Alvarez haters. I'm going to send the link for the normal boxing fans. And I'm also going to send the link to the people which want to just slander Canelo Alvarez. We're going to have a dialogue and we're going to talk about the pound for pound boxer of our era, of our world, Canelo Alvarez. But let me give a big shout out to Johnny Thunder. Yeah, Johnny, I know you wanted to talk about this, Johnny, and you're going to get on the live later. We're going to send you the link, Johnny, for sure. We got Stephen 4722, and then Anthony Wall says we need Chavez to come in. Yes, man. Can you imagine if Chavez Sr. came to the panel to talk about the man himself, Saul Canelo Alvarez? Now let's start. And let's start the show now, people. Smash that like button. I want you to give me some smash. Listen, you need to support the channel, bro. I'm here now debating and cooking for everybody. I told everybody I'm going to do the Canelo Alvarez live. And you know that Rap Star's from England, bro. I don't have any horse in this race. I'm not a fanboy of Canelo, and I'm not a fanboy of fighters like that. And especially coming from England, you know I'm going to keep it 100 in the middle. All right, mate? And we're going to start with Canelo Alvarez, the man he is, and the legacy that he's got. Now, my first question is Canelo Alvarez's legacy legit? Is Canelo Alvarez's legacy and what he does in boxing 100% legit? Yes, bacon and eggs, mate. How are you doing, bacon and eggs? How you doing, man? Yes, man. Australia in the building. Stand up for the Aussies. You know what I'm saying? We got Australia in the building. We got Mexico in the building. We got England in the building. And we got America in the building. So we can't ask for more. You know what I mean? We can't ask for a more complete fan base. But Canelo Alvarez, we're going to go straight to the motherfucking point. Is Canelo Alvarez's legacy legit and real, or is it overhyped? That's where we're going with this. Justo Martinez. Yo, what is going on? Mexico in the motherfucking building. Rap star boxing from Mr. Biggs. Yes, man, Mr. Biggs, my mate. How you doing, bro? But look, Mr. Biggs, this is all we're going to be talking about today is Canelo Alvarez, the man himself. Now, is Canelo Alvarez's legacy, is it real? Is it legit? Or is Canelo Alvarez, when he gets the criticism that he's an overhyped fighter, is Canelo Alvarez overhyped? Or is Canelo Alvarez the real 100% legit legacy that the man brings? Yo, what's going on to Puro? Puro in the motherfucking building. You know what? Send the link as well, yeah? But I've got a couple of special guests coming in. I've got the man himself, Punch Drunk Boxing. I'm supposed to have Rick Glazier in there. And if the WBC champion, if you can hear me, Nanito Donaire, if you can want to come on to this one, you know what I mean? You're more than welcome. But we're going to send a link to the people as well. But what's happening, my brethren, Punch? How you doing, bro?
Rapstar Boxing Knowledge, the voice of the UK, London, bruv. What's up, fam?
Oh, yes, let's make it work, bro. Now, Punch, I'm going to talk about only Canelo Alvarez. I'm going to stay on topic. I am going to send a link in the chat, so we might get haters, trolls. Listen, I'm welcoming everybody. Even if a man hates Canelo Alvarez, today he's welcome on the channel. And I'm even going to invite those brothers across the pond, even the LDBC. If they want to talk about Canelo, don't be scared just to talk about Canelo in your own channel. I'm not going to cut you off. I'm going to keep it real. I'm not going to pick no sides. So I'm going to send a link, Punch, on the chat as well, yeah? So we might expect anyone in it.
Yes, bruv.
That's good, bruv. Now, bruv, look, Canelo's one of the biggest fighters in the world. He gets a lot of love and he gets a lot of hate, right? Now, I want to start with, why does he get a lot of love? Now, Canelo Alvarez's legacy, yeah? People criticizes his legacy. Is Canelo Alvarez's legacy should be criticized? People say he picks all his opponents. People say that, you know, he's a man that's given the golden spoon. And some people pick his legacy apart. Now, when they compare him to the greats like Roy Jones, Sugar Ray Leonard, Mayweather, you know, some of the best, Roberto Duran, Chavez Sr., is Canelo Alvarez's legacy right up there with those guys, Mr. Moonshine?
He's a future Hall of Famer. He already got a Hall of Fame legacy, a first ballot Hall of Fame legacy. I think the criticism will come when you're trying to compare cemented greatness, cemented legacy to a legacy that is still building. Canelo Alvarez is not even close to retiring, 32 years old. So to compare him to Mayweather, to compare him to Roy Jones, to compare him to even the greats, he's always going to fall short because they're already established. They're already Hall of Famers. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of unfair. It's almost like when people doing the NBA always trying to compare LeBron James to Michael Jordan. It's like a way to discredit him. It don't matter if LeBron James got 7 titles. People already have their mindset that Michael Jordan is better. So it's hard to say that he's better to even that Julio Cesar Chavez that's been a you know what I'm saying, a debate for a long time. So not for a long time, but for a short while. So I think that the most important thing that he's great in this era. He's probably the greatest of his era, and he's better. And his legacy, he got more legacy than anybody apart from his contemporaries. He has the most legacy of this era. So Yeah, he's great.
So his legacy in your eyes, this is individual now, I'm talking to you, Punch. In your eyes, his legacy is legit 100.
Highly legit, 100%.
Okay, so I'm going to go to this then. On Canelo Alvarez's hate, what he gets for his legacy, I'm going to start with you, and we're going to break down the facts. Now, the man, Canelo Alvarez, fought in Mexico for a long time in his life. Is that true, Punch?
Yes, sir.
And then Oscar De La Hoya is the man who brought Canelo Alvarez to the global mainstream. Is that correct, Punch?
Yes, sir.
So did Oscar De La Hoya work hard to bring Canelo Alvarez into the mainstream global media and the Global Boxing Foundation? My thing is this. Did Oscar De La Hoya, one of the biggest names in boxing, one of the best who ever did it, would you also agree that he helped Canelo in the beginning or even towards his career in order to achieve that legacy first?
Of course, Golden Boy platform is one that gave him Floyd Mayweather, that gave him Miguel Cotto, that gave him not necessarily Shane Mosley, because Shane Mosley bought him. No, yes, that gave him Shane Mosley. So Oscar on Golden Boy Promotion and Oscar De La Hoya, let's not forget why he signed with Golden Boy Promotions. Canelo Alvarez said himself when he signed to Golden Boy Promotions, I am happy to sign with Golden Boy Promotion, Oscar De La Hoya, because they will take me to the international level. They are going to make me an international star. You could see it the day that he's signed. That's what Canelo Alvarez said in his own. So just by Canelo Alvarez saying it, then it's factual that Oscar De La Hoya deliver on what Canelo Alvarez signed up for. So yes, Oscar De La Hoya not only helped out Canelo Alvarez, but he also helped out Floyd Mayweather at the top rank, and he did most of his shows. Golden Boy Promotion did most of his shows. He turned Pretty Boy into Money Man. So not only did he help Canelo Alvarez, he helped Floyd Mayweather himself, and he actually gave the biggest payday at that time to Manny Pacquiao, another cash cow, an icon in the sport of boxing. Everything is going to go right back. Everything traces back to Oscar De La Hoya when we're talking about the latest cash cows of sport of boxing, aside from Anthony Joshua.
So my question is this. Oscar De La Hoya, the same man who put Canelo on the map. When Canelo came to fight Matthew Hatton, when Canelo fought Matthew Hatton, Oscar De La Hoya was doing mainstream all over coming to England, talking about Canelo. When he fought Ryan Rhodes, we didn't really know. We knew Canelo, but it was because of Oscar De La Hoya we were more interested in Canelo Alvarez. Okay? So the same Oscar De La Hoya that brought Canelo up, in between, there's been some talks that Canelo Alvarez has, and Oscar De La Hoya told Canelo that at some point he needs to change trainer. Do you agree?
Do I agree that he needs to change trainers, or do I agree that he said that?
Do you agree that Oscar De La Hoya was in Canelo's ear and he kept telling him that you need to get out of Eddie Reynoso because I've got to get you in with fighters who are very versatile soon? Is that the kind of stuff that I've heard behind the scenes?
Facts.
Okay. So when Oscar De La Hoya told Canelo that you need to change trainers, and Canelo obviously wasn't listening to Oscar, what about the time? Now, we're going to keep it factual here. This is the same fighter that you said is one of the best of today. But what about the time?
Arguably the best.
Yeah. What about the best fighter when he's in his prime and he's young? There was another fighter coming up. He had a belt for Canelo Alvarez at 160. Now, this man, his name is Demetrius Andrade. Now, a lot of people in America and a lot of the Mexican people, they hate Demetrius Andrade, bro. They never want to give Demetrius Andrade any respect, but he had a belt. What about that belt that Canelo Alvarez could have been undisputed? And at that point, they said Canelo Alvarez never made no noise on social media. He never overspoke Oscar De La Hoya. He never came up onto any mainstream and said, yeah, I want that belt. And also, when Demetrius Andrade saw Canelo Alvarez face to face, Canelo said to him, get the fuck out of here, man. You're a boring fighter. You ain't done shit. So, is it fair to say that one of the best fighters in the world, that Oscar De La Hoya said to him, you need to change trainer because I need to get you in with different kind of fighters, would you appreciate that there was some kind of duck with Demetrius Andrade?
Of course there was. And avoid it. Of course there was a duck. The question is, who was responsible of the duck? And who was responsible of the Canelo Alvarez avoiding Demetrius Andrade? Now, people going to say it was Canelo. Other people going to say it was Golden Boy Promotions. So I think that is the issue when it comes to Demetrius Andrade. The Canelo haters is gonna say it was Canelo. The Canelo lovers is gonna say no, it was Golden Boy Promotions. So people get mad because they feel like Canelo Alvarez doesn't take accountability for not fighting Demetrius Andrade in the 160-pound division. So that's what it is.
So I want to go to the chat. Con says Andrade pulled a dumb move by not defending his WBO belt against his mandatory Jambek. But that is a different story now. We got to stay on topic. See, the problem is, Con, you can't just go and hate Demetrius Andrade. He was a man in position. So he was the man who had the golden ticket for Canelo Alvarez. So you can't hate on him. That guy, Demetrius Andrade, was there, and Canelo Alvarez and Oscar De La Hoya did not make that fight. Now, whether it's Oscar De La Hoya's fault, because they were trying to fight the Derevchenko fight, and they ran out of time, and the IBF were ready to strip him. So at that time, Canelo Alvarez never fought Demetrius Andrade because of his team management. I'm going to blame Eddie Reynoso and Oscar De La Hoya. So my question is this. Canelo Alvarez knew that position was there. So when Canelo saw Demetrius Andrade, he never showed that energy though, Punch. He said the man ain't done nothing. He's a boring fighter. I mean, Canelo not showing the energy that he was interested in Demetrius Andrade, Punch. Would you agree?
Well, in the post-fight interview, you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
In the post-fight interview after Daniel Jacobs, Canelo Alvarez said that, when they asked him about Demetrius Andrade, that referee, I think, was the last one to ask him the question, and he said, I would like to fight. I would like to get all the belts. But then he started to say, but our fight, it probably wouldn't, I'm supposed to be fighting in September, so it might have some difficulties in making that type of fight. That's a red flag right there. I don't give a damn if you fighting in September and you're trying to wait and you're trying to hold down. No, the number one priority is to get the undisputed by any means necessary. For you to say, well, I'm fighting in September 18th, and I don't think that, I'm going to be fighting, Demetrius Andrade is going to fight that day because it's kind of close. No, you do what you need to do, like you did for Caleb Plant. You don't submit to a date. You submit to the legacy. You cater to your legacy. You don't cater to the September 18th date. So that's the problem I had with the Canelo team and what he said back then that people don't like to bring up. Also, Golden Boy Promotions understood that by fighting Daniel Jacobs and by beating Daniel Jacobs, he would inherit the mandatory of Sergey Derevchenko. Yes, the IBF notified Mr. Alvarez, and everybody go check it out, notify Alvarez that he signed it. But do you know what Canelo Alvarez and his team did after Daniel Jacobs? Then went on vacation. Who went on vacation with?
Talk to me.
So if they would have right away signed the extension and the IBF said, we notified them to sign the extension with whoever they wanted, and especially the mandatory, the unification bout trumps the mandatory as the IBF stated. So you could say that didn't take a responsibility to tell Eddie Reynoso, your manager, somebody that worked for you, that yo, go, don't come to vacation with me. You got work to do. You got other fighters. You got work to do. Go and tell Oscar De La Hoya, Golden Boy Promotions, I do not want Sergey Derevyanchenko whatsoever. Don't talk to me about Sergey Derevyanchenko the same way Earl Spence says of Keith Thurman. I'm not fighting nobody. All I want is Bud Crawford, right? Undisputed. That's all he wants. That's what Canelo Alvarez needed to say to himself, to his team, to Eddie Reynoso, to Golden Boy Promotions, and the IBF notified him so he could do it. Did they do it? No. They went into negotiations with Sergey Derevyanchenko. They couldn't come up with they couldn't close the deal. And then when they were about to strip him, then they asked for the extensions in the IBF August. 3 months later, when the IBF told you that you could actually sign the extension right after the fight. So Canelo Alvarez team, if you want to say Canelo Alvarez team, I think all of them avoided Demetrius Andrade because they didn't do the business decision, what they needed to do. They wasn't responsible enough to make the deal and make it serious to get the Demetrius Andrade to get the undisputed bout. If that's not the facts, whoever does is a pure liar.
Okay, let's go to the brother Mirage. What's happening, Mirage?
Yo, what's up, gentlemen? What's up?
Yeah, what do you think, Mirage? Did Canelo Alvarez, do you think Canelo Alvarez is one of the greatest, but do you think in his journey...
Don't make me laugh, bro. Don't make me laugh.
Say that again?
Don't make me laugh.
Well, we're going to talk about it. So why
you said,
are you
don't
laughing?
make me laugh.
Yeah.
Why are you laughing?
Because you asked me whether Canelo is one of the greatest of all time.
No, I said he's one of the greatest of today.
Well, we can get into that. I just want to follow up what Punch was saying.
Right.
I agree. Golden Boy and Oscar did not want Canelo to fight Andrade, but at the end of the day, in my opinion, the fighter, especially the Golden Goose, he has the final say. He has the authority. He runs the show, not fucking Oscar. Oscar works for Canelo. So if Canelo wanted that fight, he could have made the fight. Don't let anybody fucking say anything else, okay? He's to blame. He didn't want Andrade because he's a fucking bad matchup, and he avoided him. He's a fucking ducker. Canelo's a fucking ducker. That's the bottom line.
Let me just ask you this, Mirage. They already took my channel off for all the swearing and all the sometimes there's been a lot of haters on my channel. You can swear, but try not to do too much crazy shit on my channel. Try to have a dialogue with us, if that's cool with you.
Okay, I'll do my best.
All right. Now,
he's still a fucking ducker. He's still a fucking ducker. Anyway.
All right, so Mirage, let's keep it moving. You say he's a fucking ducker, right? Punch just showed you that in that timeline when they were doing negotiation for Derevyanchenko, that mandatory fight had to be discussed. And due to the time that Derevyanchenko wasn't making the fight because it was over money, Derevyanchenko's team wasn't happy with what they were getting. They were going back and forth with Canelo. Oscar De La Hoya overdid the timeline for his client, Canelo Alvarez, so the IBF were ready to strip him. At that point, do you not blame the guys who are handling his career? Because Canelo don't even know how to speak English.
Well, yes, he knows how to speak English when it comes to Demetrius Andrade.
Yeah, I'm just saying. But do we not need to blame his team like Oscar De La Hoya and Eddie Reynoso? Do we not need to blame the people which are leading the train for Canelo Alvarez?
We can blame all of them. We can blame all of them. Sure.
Yeah, you could blame all of them. But if we're talking about, you know what I'm saying, we have this debate in Rap Star Boxing Knowledge YouTube, right? So it depending on what narrative do you cater. And that's what I was saying earlier. Are you going to blame Canelo or are you going to blame the Golden Boy Promotions? That's the narrative. But in all actuality, they all avoided Demetrius Andrade. Golden Boy Promotions, Canelo Promotions, Canelo Promotion, when I say Canelo Promotion, I mean Eddie Reynoso, who was his manager. They all avoided that because business decisions speak louder than words. They didn't do the business decision to get the undisputed bout or to get that fight done.
Yeah, are we talking about
The same way,
timelines?
hold on, the same way that people like to critique Bud Crawford for signing the extension with Top Rank and say that he really didn't want the PBC fight, or why did he sign that contract? See, business decisions speak louder than words. Canelo Alvarez team told everybody indirectly that I'm not really going after Demetrius Andrade like that.
Yeah, we're talking about timelines. I mean, I don't have the exact specific details, but at the end of the day, in my opinion, I mean, you can make the timeline. You can make the timeline if you fucking really want it. If you're the fucking golden goose. So to me, these timelines and semantics, that smells like an excuse. So that I don't really accept. Maybe there is an issue, but you can fix the issue if you really want the fight. Okay. So we all agree he didn't want that fight. I think we can agree.
Okay, so let's move on.
That's a black mark. The first black mark against Canelo's name. We can put some more there, but yeah.
Okay, let's just keep it real here, though, Punch. At the end of the day, what Canelo's been doing, not many fighters have ever been doing in this era. In this era, Canelo been beating some of the best fighters before he even got to this stage.
Well, let me ask you.
At the end of the day, the people are going to critique Canelo because he ended up becoming the face of boxing, one of the guys. So now they're going to look at what is this man who represents boxing bigger than anybody else. They're going to look for his downfalls as well as what he's doing as the face of boxing.
Well, let me ask you a question, Rap. You mentioned that Oscar De La Hoya wanted Canelo Alvarez to change trainers. Why did Oscar De La Hoya again wanted Canelo Alvarez to change trainers?
Because he was telling Canelo that he needs to adapt in his boxing style. And at this point, he learned as much as he could from Eddie Reynoso. And Canelo Alvarez felt with the trainers that he's known in the industry, they could have helped Canelo more and become more of a versatile fighter.
What did Oscar De La Hoya said after the Bivol fight on the reason why Canelo Alvarez lost to Bivol? What was his reasoning?
Styles.
What style?
The guy who can move around and knows how to keep, Canelo confused. The man who knows how to use the ring, use his feet. A man who's got enough power to keep Canelo, at bay. A man who knows how to make Canelo think every time. That was the kind of fighter with lateral movement.
So Oscar De La Hoya gave the reason why he lost to Bivol, and he also said that Eddie Hearn is stupid for matching up Canelo Alvarez with that style, because Oscar De La Hoya said that Canelo Alvarez can beat that style. So now from the current time, and let's bring that type of analogy to why maybe they didn't choose to fight Demetrius Andrade. What's Demetrius Andrade's style?
Yeah, the style that is not too suited for Canelo Alvarez.
There you go. Maybe that's the reason why they avoided, and they was not too hurried to fight a 6'1" southpaw Olympian that could jab, that could move, that awkward, and they felt like if he had a little bit of problem with Lara, who was a southpaw, who there's people out there that feel like could have been a draw or things of that nature. I'm not saying that that Canelo Alvarez lost to him, but there's people out there that also feel that he lost to Lara. Did they want a bigger version of a Lara, like an Andre, and match him up with Canelo Alvarez?
All right, we're going to get to the facts of this now, Punch. We're going to get to the facts now, because now I'm just going to say this. We got 35 people in the building. At least get us some likes over here. We're cooking about Canelo Alvarez's legacy over here. And we're going to keep it factual. We're not going to be no fanboys. We're going to keep it in the middle. Nobody's taking, I want to just say this to the Canelo fans, which are getting probably hurt right now. Nobody's taking anything away from Canelo. He's still a pound for pound fighter. And he's still, in my eyes, he's one of the greatest of today. Okay, so we're not taking that away, but we're going to keep it real. Now, my question is very simple now. You're going to answer yes or no. At that point, no matter what the pound for pound was doing, was it a strategic avoided move from Canelo's team and Canelo to avoid Demetrius Andrade? Yes or no, Punch?
I say yes, knowing what I know and how they feel about, or knowing what we know about Styles, how they felt about Styles, and knowing that they didn't file the extension when the IBF notified them so they could sign the extension, and they didn't do it. So it tells me everything I need to know.
Well, we're going to get 3 votes here. We're going to get the chat, who's going to be real, and we're going to see what the chat says, and we're going to see what Mirage says and Punch says, and I'll overall look at it and decide. Was Canelo Alvarez and his team and Canelo Alvarez strategically got away from the Andrade fight, Mirage?
Say the word, ducking.
Well, you can call it what you want. Go on.
I'm calling it ducking, yes. 100% duck.
So Canelo Alvarez, in your eyes, ducked Demetrius Andrade for all the belts when they could have got an extension from the IBF.
Yeah,
if they really wanted to, let's keep it real. They could have got the extension, and if they wanted to pressure the Andrade fight, they could have given him life-changing money. He would have got in the ring straight away.
Yeah, let me just say about the belts.
All right, I want to see what the chats are saying, though. Yes,
hang on, I want to make a point.
1 sec, though. You got to give me a sec. Formula says yes. Halim says yes. Carlos GG says put up a poll. Hayes says no. Hell no. Big True says, who is Andrade fighting next? That's not the question, Big True. Let's keep it factual. June Davila says, duck Andre. He's laughing his head off. Canelo did not duck no Andrade, says Hayes. Jeff says the draw was the second fight. Most know GGG won that fight. That's not the question. Darth Vader says no. Bacon and Egg says Mop Top is crap, not a draw at all. Halim says Andrade possibility fight is Zach Parker. Ernest says no need to duck anyone. Now look, Punch, you gave the facts.
I gave facts, and whoever feels otherwise that he didn't avoid
them on Google, right? We can check all this on Google, right?
Oh, you could check it. They could check everything on Google, but this is what I mean. It's about fanboys. Stop saying that he didn't avoid him or go to boy. Canelo brand, Canelo team avoided the undisputed middleweight championship that could have happened with Demetrius Andrade and Canelo Alvarez. Those are facts. Yeah. Whoever is saying anything else is lying to themselves, yo. Canelo Alvarez, he don't willy your ass. He don't put money in your pocket. It's not saying that Canelo Alvarez don't have to fight Demetrius Andrade now. You don't even have to fight him now. But when we're talking about that subject, the question that you're questioning us with, yo, motherfuckers, stop lying to yourselves, bro. Hate Andrade like you hate the devil. Don't lie to yourself. Demetrius Andrade is not worth it, and Canelo Alvarez is not worth it for you to swallow your own fucking dignity to lie to yourself about motherfuckers y'all don't know.
Okay, look, ladies and gentlemen.
I want to make a point.
Go on, then you make a point, but I want everyone to say this, though. Whoever says no, there's a big stream and a platform called Google. Google is everybody's dad when it comes to information. You want to see everything for yourself. It's on Google. There's no hate over here. Canelo Alvarez did not fight Demetrius Andrade. There's other reasons why they broke it down. So don't hate. The Google's there, and go check the facts before you come back with those things on the message. But go ahead, Mirage.
So I'm not going to point out. I've heard a lot of these Canelo defenders make the excuses, Andrade was not worth it. He's too easy. Why would he be scared of this weak fighter, blah, blah, blah. The fact that this was for undisputed, the prize was so enormous. The fact Andrade was shit should have made it more likely, should have been easy, should have been the most easiest fight to take because it's an easy path to undisputed. So the fact that he was not worth it, the undisputed prize was worth it. So there was huge incentive, yet he still did not make the fight, which makes it more suspicious and obvious that this was a deliberate fucking duck. If for undisputed, you can move heaven and earth, because that for legacy that is huge.
I mean, it's
So-
a logical conversation.
Let me
No,
ask
but
you a
can I
question,
just say
Rabs.
this? No, I just want to say this, Punch. Look, you're Oscar De La Hoya. Mirage is Eddie Reynoso. I'm Canelo Alvarez.
Yeah.
We know after everything that Andre's done in the amateurs, he's a very, very fucking good technical amateur fighter. Very fucking sound. One of the best amateurs coming out of that whole era in America. Now, we know that Andre's not a very liked fighter. He doesn't have a big name. We know that Andre don't bring big tickets. They call him boring. Why would you want to take all that risk? So maybe Eddie Reynoso, and Oscar De La Hoya thought, look, Canelo, this guy's not worth it right now. He's a bit of risk for less rewards. Yeah, you can get the undisputed out of him, but the truth is we got bigger things to do, because with Andre Canelo, let's keep it real, Punch. Now we're going to keep it facts. Oscar De La Hoya said, I can't give you that big money. I got to get you a big fight if you want that kind of money. Now, Andre didn't even bring the big tickets. Now, do you agree that they thought at that time, Andre is a risk with not much reward? So you can't blame them as businessmen either. What'd you say to that?
False, because Demetrius Andrade already had a set contract. Remember, Canelo Alvarez signed the big deal, the biggest deal in the history of the sport of boxing. So he was going to get the same type of money that he was going to get fighting anybody. So the money is not even an excuse. He was still going to get his $35 million fighting Demetrius Andrade. So that's not an excuse. He was on a set contract.
So are you saying to me that at the end of the day, they couldn't have told him at that time that Andre is just not worth it? He ain't bringing no big name, nothing to the table. Yeah, he brings you the belt. You can become undisputed, but he's a risk, and he's a big risk.
It's
You know
not.
what I'm saying?
The risk of losing was too high.
It's not accurate, because both Demetrius Andrade and Canelo Alvarez signed in the same week to the Zone. The Zone was giving Demetrius Andrade $3 million a pop to whoever he fights, and Canelo Alvarez was getting paid to whoever he fights. It was already a set deal.
Okay, so we can't even defend the argument for Canelo that the money was going to be the same.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he wasn't going to earn less money from it. But what did Canelo Alvarez do? Let's go to this and let's talk to the chat. What did he do when he didn't fight Andre? What did he do, Punch?
But let's go by what he said. I asked the question. Did Canelo Alvarez cared about fighting in Mexican Independence Day, then fighting for the undisputed title? What did he say after he won, after he beat Daniel Jacobs? So his mind was set. He said Demetrius Andrade is fighting in June, so we might not be able to make that fight because of the September 18th date. Fuck the September 18th date. Fuck that, the September 18th date. You wait for Demetrius Andrade so you can get that undisputed. So in my mind, he's telling me that he's worried about the Mexican Independence date instead of worrying about capturing the middleweight undisputed world title.
Yeah, it's crazy though, Punch. When you see a fighter like Canelo Alvarez who's fought some serious people, you know, you wouldn't have thought that he was going to be a fighter that would ever fought to avoid
Styles
Andre.
make fights, though.
Yeah, but I just want to
thing.
get this off. I want to get this off, Mirage. At the end of the day, the man's fought every fucking style. This is the same Canelo Alvarez that went against the number one pound for pound in Floyd Mayweather when he was 23 years old.
And what happened?
We understand. But he hasn't shied away from nobody. The man, in my eyes, has fought everybody. So for me to agree totally, I am a bit with the chat. I believe Oscar De La Hoya's business and the way that he was doing business, he didn't want to risk his client to get into the ring with Andre at that time. Maybe I can put it on that as well. I don't believe Canelo Alvarez, as the demeanor of the man that he has shown me, doesn't show me that he would have easily wanted to go and avoid or duck Demetrius Andrade.
So Eddie Reynoso controls Canelo. So he controls Canelo, and Canelo cannot override Reynoso. Is that what you were saying?
I said at that time, Canelo was leaving it to Oscar De La Hoya and Eddie Reynoso.
But what about now? Aren't we seeing a similar pattern?
Yeah, now we're seeing that Canelo Alvarez is the man in charge. Now we know that Canelo Alvarez in the last 18 months.
And he's still ducking. And he's still ducking now.
Well,
So
we're
what
going
does
to
that
get
tell
to
you
that.
about
No, we're going to
before?
get
All
to
right,
that.
let's
You
get to
can't
that
just,
shit.
we just can't
Let's
leave
go.
the Andre conversation.
I'm just warming up.
We got to keep the Andre conversation where it is in facts.
Andre's putting me to sleep. That guy's fucking boring, in and out of the ring, even talking about him.
Yeah, but what we got to remember is if we're going to say that Canelo ducked Andre, that's a big statement, a huge statement.
He did duck him, but the reason
my thing is this, Mirage. You are totally convinced that Canelo himself, knowing the boxing of who Andre is, ducked him himself. Is that what you're saying?
We can all agree for now, like Canelo ducked him, but we're not sure of the reason. We don't agree on the reason why. That's why let's investigate the rest of his career. We'll put the pieces of the puzzle together, and then that might help us work out the reasoning behind ducking Andrade. We'll see the pattern.
Look, we're going to leave it this way. We're going to leave it this way. There was avoidance from Canelo and his team for Demetrius Andrade.
We can agree
We
on that.
have to speak the facts of that. Punch said that if they really wanted to get the extension with the IBF, Oscar De La Hoya could have worked that out for Canelo. They weren't showing the energy to become undisputed at 160, regardless who you want to blame here. Some fucked up shit happened there. Because you know, and I know, that Canelo, if he wanted to be undisputed, he could have pushed it. Now let's move to the next name that Canelo Alvarez gets slandered for. And on this one, I'm going to start off. So we heard that Canelo Alvarez, we know that he's been fighting everybody anyway who they've been putting in front of him. Apart from now, we heard with this Andrade situation. But there was another name in position as a mandatory fighter. He's a twin in Houston called Jamal Charlo. Now, you've seen for the last 3 years, the biggest thing to slander Canelo Alvarez sometimes is this man, Jamal Charlo. Now, I would say with Jamal Charlo, I'm on Canelo Alvarez's side. Now, they say, though, Canelo Alvarez got a franchise to avoid Jamal Charlo. But my thing is, Punch, there's 2 questions here. What did he do with the franchise, and why was the franchise there for Canelo? And
I think Punch is gone, man. Punch has dropped out.
Okay.
Dropped out.
Well, let me just say this. He's in the back right now. Let me just say this very simply then. Did Canelo Alvarez duck Jamal Charlo? My answer is very simple, and you guys can go. My answer is no. But go ahead. I'm going to leave it to the next man. Punch.
Go ahead, Mirage.
Mirage, you go for this one. Did he duck Jamal Charlo?
To be honest, I'm not 100% sure of the details. Apparently, didn't Jamal say? Actually, is he on the record at saying that Jamal was given a contract and he rejected a contract? I mean, if that is true, I mean, that's that right there. But I'm not sure there's all the details regarding that. So I don't want to.
I'm talking the first time that they were talking.
You mean at
about
154? Wasn't there?
Charlo, no, 160. Jamal Charlo came as a mandatory for Canelo Alvarez.
Yeah, they
look,
made the franchise.
when your own brother tells the whole world that you ducked the Canelo fight, I think credibility. He loses credibility. When there was a deal in play, and they didn't submit to that deal, then that tells me, they could use the franchise as an excuse. But I believe that no, Canelo Alvarez didn't duck Jamal Charlo.
Yeah, then you have to look at Jamal Charlo's history.
You can't make a big statement like that without the facts again. Because he did.
Then bring us the facts. Then
let's go here then. He got elevated as a franchise champion.
Yes.
The franchise champion, which is my friend himself, Mauricio Suleiman. Let's not forget.
Who did he fight? Who did he fight then?
Kovalev.
Okay, yeah, but so he moved out of the division. So once he was franchised, he never fought at 160 again?
No.
No.
Well, I mean, yeah. So you can't really, once he
The
moves up in.
you're not. The question is, was Jamal Charlo a mandatory? Was he ordered to fight Canelo Alvarez? Did they order Canelo Alvarez to fight Jamal Charlo? That they ordered Sergey Derevchenko?
God, I'm not sure, man. Like,
See,
But Punch,
it's like, for example, did Demetrius Andrade? Look, people in the chat was saying, yeah, Demetrius Andrade ducked Jennebeck. Who said he didn't? Yes, he avoided. He was ordered to fight Jennebeck. Now the question is, did you go for a better opportunity? Now, did Jamal Charlo get ordered by the WBC?
no.
Then okay, then there you go.
So let me just explain this then. Let's make it facts here with Charlo's name. Now, Charlo's name came in between because he did get in position, but he only got in position, but he never offered anything to the champion. So when the WBC put the franchise together, they wanted Canelo Alvarez to make the biggest fight. What did Canelo Alvarez do with the franchise? My question is now, did he do bigger than what was the fight with Jamal Charlo? Because Jamal Charlo, he didn't bring a belt. He only brought a position. So if Canelo Alvarez fought Jamal Charlo, did he do better than that? My question is, he went and fought for a belt against Kovalev
He
at a
became
weight class.
he became a four division world
I was
champion.
just going to
yeah,
say,
that's
yeah,
clearly, it was clearly a better option.
he
Clearly a
became
better
a
option.
4-division world champion and certified himself as legacy. Because of that move, they started calling Canelo Alvarez the best ever Mexican fighter who ever lived. Now he got that name tag because he became a 4-weight world champion. So he did not duck no Jamal Charlo. It wasn't the same situation as Demetrius Andrade. So if we're going to keep it factual, he had nothing in the Jamal Charlo fight on this rap star boxing. If we got a book of boxing right now, yeah, the franchise came out, but the franchise was business for Canelo Alvarez. It was
What?
the biggest fight that he made. And what did he do with
What?
the franchise, Punch, before you get on this shit and get your shit off? He became an undisputed fighter at 168 in 11 to 12 fucking months. So that's bigger than any Charlo could have ever done for fucking Canelo at that time. So he did not duck no fucking Charlo on my show. Go on, bro. Go on, Punch. I don't know where Punch is
Not
gone.
there.
Yeah.
I agree. I will agree with you. Yeah. I will accept he didn't duck Charlo. He moved
Yeah.
up and he took a better challenge and it was better, much clearly better for his legacy. The option he chose than Charlo. And Charlo's exposed himself as a pussy anyway. He's ducking himself. He's fighting nobody in his own division. So he's got no legitimacy and credibility himself. So yeah. Okay, we agree. We agree on that.
Well, look, I'm
Canelo off.
gonna take it to the chat now, Mirage. We gotta just keep it real. Charlo's name should not be there to slander Canelo Alvarez. Charlo is not a name that was there for any fight for Canelo Alvarez. So that name was irrelevant. At that time, it was totally irrelevant. Now let's go to the next subject with Canelo Alvarez. We know about the Andre situation. We went to the Charlo situation. We broke that down. Now, my thing is this. Let's just go straight to it. When Canelo Alvarez fought the second fight against Gennady Golovkin and he gets slandered for it all over the world, is it justified for him to be slandered as a drug cheat? Now, Canelo Alvarez was slandered as a drug cheat. At the end of the day, we know the facts about these drugs. We know in that country that soccer teams had got done for the same stuff with that clenbuterol, with the same small percentages in their country. We later realized that scientifically, they had come out with all these articles, what was the dosage in his system, what it did, And what was the actual outcome of that clenbuterol, whatever it's called?
Clenbuterol.
Clenbuterol, sorry. Right? Now that when his traces had got taken to a science lab, they said, man, this doesn't help any athlete. This ain't helping nobody. So really calling him a drug cheat, we just got to change the fucking laws. Because these Mexicans are sitting in Mexico, eating these steaks, eating this meat. I'm just saying, at the end of the day, there was a bit of both ways. Now, does that hurt his legacy? Do you actually believe he was a cheater? And if so, please explain.
Well, you're talking about the levels that were found in his body, but you need to consider, was that just residue from like more serious dosing in the, in the months previous to that? Like maybe their dosing, I mean, this is very precise. I mean, when athletes cheat, there's a very strict regime. We need to take it at a certain time, and then the residue sort of wears off in the coming months. So you need to be clean at a certain point. So it's all about timing. So just because there's a little bit found now, that doesn't mean that it wasn't higher in the past. That doesn't necessarily mean that. So I don't necessarily buy that excuse. And you said the soccer teams, were found. Well, maybe they're fucking drug cheats as well. Everybody knows athletes fucking abuse drugs. John Jones in the UFC, he's been busted like 2 to 3 times. All these motherfuckers use it. That's
All
the
right,
first bits of
look.
evidence.
But
Hang on,
Mirage,
well, last
I
bit.
appreciate your views, right? But let's just a little bit less of the crazy, like, you don't need to go with motherfuckers on all that shit all the time. But look, let me just say this to you. Now, let's keep it factual. You know, and I know, and if I had to, I can put the articles up for you. And everybody in the chat knows we're hardcore motherfucking boxing fans here. We
Watch your
know the
mouth,
truth,
man. Come on,
but
watch your
let's
mouth.
just
Come on.
keep it real. No, Mirage, you got to keep it respectful here, bruv. This ain't for no trolls here. This is dialogues. This ain't no free smoke. We're having a dialogue about Canelo Alvarez. You know that the traces that they've told you are no way near the level of a steroid. Now, you want to talk about drug cheats, some of the best fighters in the world. Roy Jones Jr. is one of my best fighters who ever fought, whoever put on gloves at one stage of his life. Did you know that Roy Jones Jr. got done for steroids?
Yep.
Way more worse, 10 times different dosages. With Canelo Alvarez, they came out with the laws and they changed it straight away. They penalized him for 6 months and they said, nah, this is stupid. What Canelo got done with, it doesn't even help a fucking athlete. But what Roy Jones Jr. got done with, it can kill a man. Now, one of our greatest fighters in the world was Roy Jones Jr. And Roy Jones Jr. doesn't get slandered today about it. He's in the Hall of Fame. He's a man who done 10 times worse than what Canelo did in any kind of drugs. Then we go to James Toney. James Toney, he got done for steroids. Then we're going for somebody who got done multiple times for real
So they all cheat.
steroids.
So they all cheat.
No,
We
no, no.
accept
But
they
what
all
I'm
cheat.
saying is that's a different level of cheating now. Because what Canelo Alvarez, look, I don't justify anyone cheating. Fuck that shit. If Canelo cheated, then fuck that shit. He should be penalized. And he did get penalized. So
Yeah.
I'm not with that cheating shit. But
Well,
scientifically and factually, I know with the laws of boxing today that everybody's doing clenbuterol right now. Everybody's doing what Canelo's doing. And
at the end of the day,
if you think that these little enhanced drugs that USADA, UCAD, and all these enhanced little things that people take for weight cutting, these are the ones that they take legally. So all I'm saying is the fighters which were greats who took real drugs, they were real drug cheats.
well, they took different drugs. There's different drugs. Clenbuterol is a PED. I mean, it is classified. We don't need to get into a scientific argument. I will just accept it's a PED. Now it's a different one. Is it less? I mean, at the end of the day, I think we need to look at Canelo's physique. Okay, he looks like a fucking gorilla. Okay, he's moved up divisions and he's still kept fucking muscle, and he's literally been physically stronger than like everybody at 168 that he's fought. He's been stronger. 175. I mean, Kovalev was fucking shot,
Yeah.
but and it was old. He was physically much stronger. Kovalev looked like a frail old man. Bivol, he was. I mean, Canelo still looked like the bigger puncher, heavier puncher, which is our box. So this guy's moved up divisions. He's jacked as hell, and he looks like a gorilla. To me, like he doesn't look clean. He doesn't pass the eye test. So we need to use some common sense here. You can say some guy's clean, but if he looks like a gorilla, you know, I'm not buying it. Okay. I mean,
Well,
do you think he looks clean? Do you think he
well,
looks clean to you?
I'm just gonna say this, bro.
Does he look clean?
Let's just keep it factual again with what Canelo Alvarez got done with it
How does he
today.
look? Tell me how he looks.
No, but we'll get to that. I want to
Oh.
finish this conversation, bro. We're going one by one here. So with Canelo Alvarez, with what he got slandered for, what he got penalized for, is legal today. I just want to keep it factual, ladies
But it
and
wasn't
gentlemen.
legal then.
All right, we're gonna
That's
get to
factual. Now that's
that. Right,
factual.
right. So it wasn't legal when Canelo Alvarez got traced, but when they did their homework and realized and they checked his blood, they recognized it wouldn't even help an athlete in enhanced. When it was enhanced drugs, you got the people like Roy Jones, the James Tonys, the guys like Big Baby Miller. They took it to the level which was real enhanced drugs. So if we want to call him a drug cheat, maybe at that time, certain things that he did that at that time were not legal, but now are legal on those small dosages. So we're just going to keep it factual. You know, I'm not
Oh,
here to tolerate anyone taking anything. But in today's
okay.
day and age, every fighter's taking something. Now they're very minimal traces.
Most of them maybe.
Yeah, most of them are taking things which are minimal traces. They're
Yep.
taking things to help them wake up. You know what I'm saying? So there's
So
levels
are
to
you gonna
this
answer
shit.
my question now, bro? Or what?
Yeah, go on.
Does Canelo look clean or does he look suspicious to you?
Now they look, Canelo looks like a tough motherfucking geezer. He's got listen, Canelo's always been ripped, but look at the time that he puts into the gym. This man's 3 times a day in the gym. You can't
Is he
take
the
away.
only foxer that puts time in the gym? The rest,
No,
everybody else is just lazy?
all of them have to. Now, if you're saying, does Canelo look like he's taking something? Man, he's training like an animal. But you got to remember this. After he got penalized, bruv, Mirage, let's keep it real. We're not got no one in this race. They've been on him. After he got penalized, now Canelo's the most tested fighter in boxing.
Hmm.
Canelo is now the one who's on the circuit where they have to test him at all times. So even now, whatever you want to say, Canelo actually now is probably the cleanest fighter out of them all, because now you know
Well,
that they're on him.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, I'm just saying, right? At the end of the day, yeah, he get slandered? Yeah, he got slandered. But did they change the rules for him? Did they? I don't know if it was for him, but the rules did get changed, didn't they?
Yep.
So the rules got changed. Now let's go straight forward and let's move because
Back to the
Canelo
boxing.
Alvarez, because of Canelo Alvarez being one of the good fighters of today, and he's made himself into a position that no person's perfect, bro. You name me any fighter who's fucking perfect, right? There's always a fighter who's not fighting this guy. There's always a fighter who's never pleased the fans in that. Now we got to remember these are the only holes one of the greatest pound for pound fighters have got today. This is just breaking down, not to mention how great he is and what he is doing and what he has done. But let's move it here. Recently, Canelo Alvarez picked a deal. There was a deal on the table. Now we're talking about today's times in Canelo Alvarez's life. And in today's time in Canelo Alvarez's life, he was a pound for pound #1 fighter at the time before he lost to Bivol. But before the fight with Bivol, Canelo Alvarez got offered a huge $100 million, which is like 75 million quid. A huge number was just his fucking pay to fight Jamal Charlo and David Benavidez. Showtime came up with more money, Al Heyman and Showtime, for Canelo Alvarez than DAZN did. But then, after talks, DAZN then matched the money. Which deal should Canelo Alvarez should have took? Now, my question is, wait, Mirage. I'm speaking to the chat as well, bruv. You got to work with me, yeah?
Are there any Canelo fanboys in the chat that want to join us, maybe?
Well, I'll send
Any
the link in
fanboys?
a minute. But my thing is this.
I want a fanboy up here.
Which deal should a Canelo Alvarez should have took? Should he have took the Jamal Charlo versus the David Benavidez fight, which was more money than what DAZN first originally offered Canelo Alvarez? But going back and forth, DAZN finally came back to match the offer for Demetrius Bivol and Gennady Golovkin. What deal should Canelo Alvarez should have took and why? I'm gonna go to Punch because I ain't seen Punch for ages. Where you been?
I had to take care of shit. I would say that the best deal is, I think that's so much. That's like a almost even deal. But at this point, I think about what Canelo Alvarez wants. What Canelo Alvarez will gain. What does he gain by fighting Jamal Charlo, and what does he gain by fighting David Benavidez? Compare what does he gain by fighting Triple G and by fighting Bivol. Now he gains another world title in 175 pounds, fighting the younger, stronger guy, because remember when he beat Sergey Kovalev, people critique him. So he's going for the hardest task in fighting Bivol. If he goes Triple G, what has been the most controversial? Which has been the biggest win for Canelo Alvarez has been the Triple G fight. Yet the most controversial, the Triple G fight. So he needs to take care of that controversy. And the Bivol fight is bringing something at the table where David Benavidez or Jamal Charlo could bring. So if you're Canelo, you will be like, let me go with the same money. Bivol and Triple G is more of legacy there. But if you was a fan of boxing and you've been urging the names of Charlo, Benavidez has been linked longer as potential matchup with Canelo Alvarez. So I think the interest of the fans was the PBC deal, but the legacy was the zone deal.
Okay, what do you think, Mirage? What deal should have Canelo Alvarez had took? The Showtime deal or the DAZN deal?
Okay, for starters, I mean, fighters fight for different reasons, I guess, sometimes. I mean, in terms of like pleasing the fans, like giving the fans what they want, I think Benavidez and Charlo was the obvious choice. They are more popular. I mean, both of them are far more popular than Bivol. Nobody knew who the hell Bivol was, generally, unless you're like really tight in the boxing game. Even like, um, trainers, actual boxers, they barely saw Bivol fight. So in terms of popularity, TV ratings, bringing enjoyment, to the fans, it should have been Benavidez and Jamal. Now you're talking about legacy. The Punch talks legacy. Uh, that's an interesting question. Winning another belt at 175. I mean, he's already done that. So, how much for the legacy would that be really? And the Triple G, how much is beating a 40-year-old Triple G who's never fought at super middleweight? How much is that going to bring for his legacy? To me, that fight is a waste of time. It doesn't prove anything. If he beats him, nobody's going to care because Triple G's old. And so I don't think, even in terms of legacy, versus beating the two top dogs, two hungry lions in Benavidez, hugely rated. Jamal, I mean, he's not as good, but he's highly rated. So he can fight two top dogs, two lions, or some no-name Bivol, and an old Triple G. Bivol's a good fighter. He's a good fighter, but again, he's not exciting, and he's not like a superstar or very popular. So to me, it should have been Benavidez, Charlo.
Okay, so you think that the Charlo and Benavidez fight would have done way more for popularity? He was getting the same money that he was getting versus Bivol and, like you said, an old Gennady Golovkin that a lot of people didn't want to watch. In fact, I'm going to keep it real. Punch Drunk Boxing was against that fight at first.
Nobody was asking for it. Literally, I heard nobody talking about it until they suddenly announced it.
Well, before he lost to Bivol, there was a lot of people who didn't want to really see him go to the Gennady Golovkin route. That's a fact. But to be fair with you, at the end of the day, the money was the same. Charlo and Benavidez was on the line. Charlo and Benavidez was bringing Canelo Alvarez 100 million plus. But he took the Bivol route and then Gennady Golovkin. Now, you can't really slander Canelo Alvarez or criticize Canelo Alvarez. Let's keep it the real though over
I
here, mate.
can. I
You
won't.
can't. No, I know you can. I can't. Because again, he went for legacy. You know, I'm just saying. Hey, look,
Yeah,
man,
but
I'm going to say
legacy was
this
a
as well. Wait,
softer
wait, wait,
route.
wait. Look, let me just
Legacy
get
was
this off.
softer.
Mate, Mirage, let me get this off, mate.
The
We got
thing is,
50
none of them
people in
has
the
done
fucking
anything
chat here,
significant.
bro.
None
We
of
got 50 people in the motherfucking chat. I want to get 50 fucking more likes. You guys need to fucking like the
I
channel.
gave you a like, man. I already gave you one.
I
Don't
hope
blame
you
me.
did. I hope
Don't
you
blame
did.
me.
Yeah, give us some likes. We're cooking about Canelo Alvarez's legacy, factually. And if you got anything else to say, anyone wants to say anything, the link's out there. You know what I mean? So go on, Punch.
Now I was gonna say like it's depending on how you looking at it or what you want as a fan. Like I said, if you're Canelo Alvarez, it's the same type of money, is the same type of leeway, and all these fights didn't separate themselves to the point where none of these fights are on the pound for pound list. None of these fighters. It's all about what you really wanted to see. So if you wanted to see Charlo and David Benavidez, you would say that he'd rather get the PBC fight. But for Canelo Alvarez, I understand why he picked the Bivol fight and the Triple G fight. If, like I said again, if the Triple G fight is his biggest win, yet is the most controversial win in his career, then I understand why he may need to kill that noise. Even if I didn't want to see the fight, because I want to see Triple G go for undisputed at 160. You know what I'm saying? But it's you could pick either or, and it's not really as big as a fan. For a fan, in my opinion, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. It's like whatever. But I understand it's more legacy in terms of Bivol and Triple G. There's no legacy there. Like he's not gonna win anything versus Charlo. He will not win anything versus David Benavidez. And these guys' resume don't tell that. Oh my God, we need to get this fight done. You need this fight, Canelo. They didn't do
But let's
enough.
be honest though,
Look.
Punch.
None of
No,
these
but Punch,
fighters did
I
enough.
want
None of these
to
fighters did
rebut
enough
you.
to shame Canelo. None of
But I
these
want to
fighters did
rebut
enough.
you for the chat, because I've seen some people say in the chat though, when you are pound for pound, let's say you're number one pound for pound. Now I'm gonna turn it. Canelo number one pound for pound at the time. And just like Mirage said, the biggest fight for him, the fans are calling it out. He knows who the man is. They're calling him a Mexican monster. And we even
Fuck
know
yeah.
in England, that the man who is knocking Canelo Alvarez's door is David fucking Benavidez. Now we also know that this man Charlo, that everybody wants to criticize, because Punch actually knows the facts of this, because he knew about the Charlo fight with Canelo Alvarez way before we did. All right? And let me tell you, didn't Charlo sign the fight for Canelo, Punch?
Charlo signed his term. He signed the term sheet.
Yeah, the same Charlo, Punch. Now, we're going to keep it facts here today for every fighter. The same Charlo that gets criticized, hate in America. His own people hate him. They always call him all the names that he don't fight no one. He's ducking Andre. He's ducking Canelo. Charlo signed to fight Canelo Alvarez. He already got his pen and signed. He put his big fucking name on the contract. And Canelo Alvarez did not put his name next to Charlo's name on the contract. So Charlo was ready. Now, whether you want to say he wouldn't have win, whether you say he don't deserve the fight, that's irrelevant. We're talking facts today on here. And the facts are Charlo signed and Canelo never signed. So Charlo deserves respect because he even signed to fight Jaime Munguia. And then Oscar De La Hoya wanted to start to play a game that, we don't want to let him fight on Showtime. We want him to fight on DAZN. They fucked up that fight for Jaime Munguia. So Charlo has been putting his name in everybody's fucking face. He wanted to fight the pound for pound number one.
But because but don't actually, and people like to put that shit under the rug because it creates views, it creates, You know what I'm saying? Is you rather hate Charlo than actually say the facts about what happened with Charlo. Charlo did sign his term, and also he signed the Jaime Munguia, and he's still getting smoked. Those are the facts.
And Charlo signed to fight Canelo Alvarez. It wasn't his fault that Canelo Alvarez didn't want to go in that route. Those are the facts. Charlo signed, Canelo never. Canelo signed the fight. Now, we're not saying that Canelo didn't fight a bigger fight. Yeah, he did. He went and tried and got a belt at 175, and it backfired on him. It did backfire on him. But at least he tried to challenge himself that neither Charlo, Andrade, see, we can't say much, Punch. Because Charlo, Andrade, and these guys are not challenging themselves like Canelo is. So you can't say nothing to Canelo. He's going to try and get a bigger fight for the same money that he's getting for Charlo. Now let's talk about David Benavidez.
Can I just say something? Yes,
go on, mate.
Look, I think you talk about legacy, blah blah blah. I think if the package deal was Jamal or Munguia or John Ryder, I reckon he would have taken that deal. I reckon Benavidez was the reason. It wasn't legacy. Let's get real. He was ducking Benavidez. That's the main reason, in my opinion.
But you know what I don't like, yeah, Mirage? I'm just trying to keep it 100. Canelo's one of my favorite fighters, and now my own chat, I got a guy called No Cat Boxing saying, "Rap, don't try and be Charlo's manager all of a sudden." Why? Because I'm saying that Charlo signed the fight, and you don't like it. You don't like to hear that Jamal Charlo signed the fight, and he wanted all the smoke with Canelo Alvarez. You don't like that, do you? You just don't like that the truth is he did sign the fight. So what? Am I not meant to keep it factual? Am I meant to tell you, oh, no, he didn't sign the fight? Charlo signed, Canelo went in another route. That's the truth. So now you want to hate on me because I'm telling you the facts. I already told you that Canelo Alvarez is doing bigger and better things. You know what I'm saying? How you doing, Frank?
Hey, what's up, Rap Star?
Yeah, man. What do you think about this situation, Frank?
Oh man, I don't understand the Canelo hate. I'm one of these people that
we got a fanboy here. About time.
Let him speak, bro. Then you can get yours
a
off.
Fanboy.
Yours off.
Okay.
Go on, mate.
Well,
no, go on, Frank.
No, I've just never understood the Canelo hate. He's accomplished a lot. I mean, he doesn't have to be your favorite fighter. He's not my favorite fighter. I just want to understand where it seems like we're in the stage of boxing where you can't acknowledge somebody unless you discredit somebody.
So what do you think about this? That Canelo Alvarez, in your eyes, is he one of the greatest fighters of today?
Absolutely. Hey, people lie.
Tell me why.
Numbers don't.
Tell me why.
The numbers. He's the face of boxing.
Is it just the numbers or is it his legacy as well?
All the above. He has the numbers because he's done the most.
He's done the most out of what? Everyone today?
Yeah.
Okay. So
who has done more? Inoue has I mean I like those guys. Have they done more than Canelo Alvarez?
Okay, so, I'm gonna let you Mirage and you guys chop it up while I'll be back. Mirage, you can answer back to him and you guys just chop it up for a bit.
So I actually, even though I am a Canelo hater, in the current context, boxing today, because today's boxers, most of them are just pussies anyway. They're all duckers, most of them. So out of all of them, I might actually agree. Like, he has still done more than everybody else. He does challenge himself to some degree. So relative to the rest, maybe he's the best. But when I talk about historically, Canelo, an all-time great, blah, 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 the greatest Mexican boxer, that's the next level where I disagree, where I have a problem. That's the problem. My main issue with him. Yes, he is very good. I give him credit. But the fanboys get carried away. They deny that he is a ducker, that he ducked at 160, that he ducked at 168, that he ducked at 175. He never fought the best fighters in those divisions. Has Canelo ever been the best fighter in any division? Was he the best at 154? Floyd boxed his ears off. At 160, he never had a clear win over Triple G. Most people thought he lost both fights. 168, has he fought the Mexican Monster? No. 175, has he fought Benavidez? No, he cherry-picked Bivol, who hasn't stopped anybody in 6 years. So there's always an asterisk next to what Canelo does. And you fanboys, you need to acknowledge that. So are you prepared to do that or what?
Let's get around the panel.
Let's fucking go.
Let's get it, or you've had your say, bruv. Okay, right. What'd you say, Mike from Boston? What's going on, bro?
Yeah, what up? What up, man?
Who's this guy flexing?
How you been, man? It's been a long time. Where you been?
No, I'm still in there, man. My name is MFB now, like in the chat.
Hey, do you even lift, bro? Do you lift?
All right, come on, hey Mirage, come on.
Hey, listen, man.
I'm trying to behave, but it's hard.
Hey, let me make the fucking rules on my chat, yeah, please. Come on.
Right.
Listen,
you have your say.
Someone asked the question.
No, let me finish. Everybody gets 2 minutes. Everybody gets 2 minutes. Nobody's going to interfere. And if anyone interferes, I've got to mute you because we're going to make it a dialogue. Mike from Boston, how you doing?
Okay, yeah, good, man. I wanted to answer the question. Someone said, why does Canelo Alvarez get so much hate? Well, it's pretty basic. He has gotten a number of gift decisions, and we all know that a number of times the scorecards have not been right in Canelo Alvarez fights. They always seem to go in his direction. To this day, I've not seen too many robberies. I feel like the first Triple G fight was a clear robbery for Triple G. I mean, he should have won that fight. I've watched it over and over again. I cannot come out with any scenario where Canelo wins that fight. And he had the scorecard with Floyd Mayweather. Someone had that who was judging that fight had it as a draw. I feel like he aged Triple G out. A lot of people feel like that. So he's made some moves. He failed a drug test, legitimately failed a drug test for Kumbiro. May not be a steroid, but nevertheless, he failed a drug test for a banned substance. Those are all reasons why people hate on him. And I'm not saying I hate on him. I'm just saying those are the reasons why.
Hey, Punch, is that you, Punch?
Yes, bruv.
Okay. Well, let's go around, Frank. I mean, have you been hearing what's been said, Punch?
Yes, I've been hearing. Oh, I thought you were talking to me.
No.
All right, Frank, I'm going to let you go off, Frank, and then I'm going to go to Punch. What are you saying about this, Frank?
Okay, well, I'm not understanding what they're discrediting. Are they saying that he's not the face of boxing because why?
Well, Mike from Boston told you some reasons that he's a drug cheat and all these things. Did you hear what Mike was saying?
That he's a drug cheat and what else?
Mike, go on, Mike.
Well, Floyd got busted too, so explain that one. Are you a Floyd fan?
Floyd didn't get busted the way that Canelo got busted, clearly failing.
Well, what did Floyd get busted for? Then how do we know?
And as far as I know, he never legitimately
Well, it was turned in, right? Somebody broke the story.
Did he fail the test?
Yeah, he failed a test. It was broken. The story was broken.
So Floyd failed the drug test.
Well, he was using IVs.
Okay, well, he did not fail a drug test the way that Canelo did. Canelo failed. Everyone knows he failed.
No, but he was cleared of it later. So what are you talking about?
He wasn't cleared of it. They raised the threshold. He was taking.
So what does that mean? That means it wasn't enough to be effective.
I'm not against Canelo. I'm just telling you these are the.
Well, you just said that he's a cheat, right? We have to discredit him.
I didn't say he was a drug cheat. I said he failed the drug test, and that is the fact. He did fail a drug test. That is why people hate him.
Well, failing and being absolved are two different things. If you're absolved of it,
okay, he was not absolved, sir. He did fail a test for a banned substance. Like you need to move on from that. That's in the history books. He did do that. He did fail a drug test, and it is what it is. That's why people hate on things like that. I'm not saying I hate on him, but that's why people hate on him. I'm just giving you a couple of reasons why. You asked the question.
Okay, so you're discrediting him for that.
I'm not discrediting him. I'm giving you reasons. I'm just trying to answer your question. You wanted to know why people hate on him. I'm giving you a few reasons why people hate on him.
Well, what do you think? Because you're saying people. So is this what you think, or you just want to listen to people?
No,
you're influenced by others easily, is what you're telling me.
No, I'm trying to give you a clear answer to the question you asked. Like I feel like
But I want to know what you think, because this is what this is about. What do I think?
What do I think about what? About
Ask him
Canelo
again,
going to the
Rapstar,
breakup?
because I don't think he understands the topic.
Dude, you asked the question, and I feel like I answered it pretty clearly. Like I don't understand why.
Yeah, you mentioned the drug thing. So how else do you want to discredit Canelo Alvarez?
I don't want to discredit anybody. You asked why do people hate on him, and I feel
I'm
like
asking you, what do you think?
Why. What do I think about Canelo Alvarez as a fighter?
Yeah, that's what this is about.
Yeah, I actually rate Canelo very highly. I think he's one of the best fighters in the game. I don't take anything away from him.
Okay, so then we agree.
However, I also don't hold him on the same pedestal that a lot of you. I mean, I don't know about
compared to who then. So then, who are you saying that we're holding him on a pedestal? So who do you
I feel
saying
like
that we're doing that?
I'm not saying you. I'm not saying you personally. I'm saying some people. I feel like rate him a little bit.
Then who are these people? You keep saying that other people say this about him, but then other people are saying this.
I'm talking
what
about
are your
fanboys,
thoughts,
sir? Sir, I'm talking about the fanboys.
I'm one of them. I'm one of them that hold him up to a pedestal. I'm one of them.
Okay, so there you go. I mean, some people do, and hey, people will have a right to like who they like. I'm just saying, I'm giving you some reasons why I don't hold him that high. Okay, but I'm not taking anything away from him at the same time.
How are you not taking anything away if you're mentioning his cheating?
Because you asked the question. You want
to know legitimate? Are those legitimate criticisms or not? Why don't you respond to his criticisms? Are they legit? Did he fail? Was he suspended for 6 months? Have the judges' scorecards been dodgy as hell in multiple fights? Is that not true or not?
To be honest, you know, for me, what's a cheat? A cheat really is that
Roy Jones.
You go out,
bro, I want that fanboy to respond. I want that fanboy to respond.
What?
Bro, you there? He's gone quiet.
Hey, Frank, respond, man. You there?
I'm not a fanboy. That's why I didn't respond.
Oh, he ain't going to respond to that. He ain't going to respond to you.
So you accept those criticisms as legitimate?
Mirage.
No, I just want to know what you're discrediting him.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are discrediting him with criticisms we feel are legitimate. Suspended for 6 months, ducking fighters, multiple fighters, dodgy scorecards. Are those criticisms legitimate in your opinion?
The drug thing, maybe. Everything else, no.
Oh, so he hasn't ducked anybody?
No, ducking is a fan term. I don't believe in ducking, period.
So
boxers don't duck. It's not a historic thing at all. It's just fantasy. It's a myth, is it?
It's a fan term.
What does that mean, fan term?
Because boxing is a business above everything. It's more of a business than a sport.
Yeah, fighters duck for business, sure. Correct?
No, but do you accept boxing as a pure sport or a business? Have to.
It's both. It's both.
It can't be both. But see that you want to have it both ways.
What are you talking about, man? It's a business and it's a sport. Like,
look, some fighters don't duck. Some fighters will just fight anybody. They'll fight the best. Oscar De La Hoya, he didn't duck. He fought the best fighters he could fight, even in their primes. Okay, so even though it was a business, he did not duck. Canelo, he's been accused of ducking. He's been accused of ducking.
I've got a couple of people in the back end. I've got a couple of people in the back end, right? But I need them to show their face.
What Frank means is, if you go to a store and you need to decide Coca-Cola or Pepsi, and you buy Coca-Cola, and you would buy Coca-Cola, Pepsi is not going to tell you that you're ducking them for Coca-Cola.
No, I think Frank is in denial and he's being a little bit disingenuous, because we all know, even though business, blah, 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 some fighters, they do duck because the risk of losing is obvious. We talked about this already. It's, the risk versus reward, and it happens, but he won't even accept that. And that's a problem right there.
I think the problem is when people say
use the word
duck. When people say duck or avoid, people relate that as fear, and it's not fear. It's just that you're duck. I don't even like using the word duck. So let me just say avoid. Right? You avoid this fight.
Don't dress it up, bro. Don't dress that shit up. Just say it, man. You're dressing it up.
Because in all actuality, I don't think that no fighter is scared of no fighter.
Oh,
I don't feel
I
like
do.
I don't feel like that.
Canelo is scared of Benavidez, 100%. Fuck yeah.
I don't know, but I don't know. We haven't had any evidence really of that, though. I mean, we don't know if he's scared of Benavidez.
But when it comes to certain fighters, yes, with the Demetrius Andrade, that they avoid that fight.
Okay.
The Canelo team avoided that fight. That they did the business. That they did the business that they needed to do to get that fight. Nah, they didn't.
Okay.
No, they
Let me
didn't.
ask a question, Frank. So
Go ahead.
if Canelo's not a ducker, why didn't he fight Benavidez for 2 belts and Triple G? Why wasn't Benavidez his target at 175? Why did he fight Kovalev, and why did he fight Bivol and not the toughest, highest ranked 175 pounder? Tell me that.
You want me to
You'd have to
answer that?
answer that. I don't have those answers. I wasn't part of the
use
That's
your
an easy
negotiations.
answer, though.
Use
That's
your
an easy
brain
answer.
and give us and try to work it
let
out.
let me just bring it factual again. That's because at the time, DAZN, they only had 2 fighters to offer Canelo Alvarez for $100 million deal.
Why did
But just before, I want you to finish
did
that.
they
But
offer
that's what I'm
Benavidez?
talking about, the
Let me break
business.
down the facts.
Explain the business to him.
The reason problem is, right, Mirage, even if you wanted the Art of the Turban to be fight, they would have had to deal with Bob Arum. So in order for their fight to be a 2-fight deal, they had to get 2 fighters from DAZN. And DAZN's 2 biggest fighters were Bivol for Legacy and then Gennady Golovkin for a trilogy, which a lot of fans didn't want and some fans do want.
Okay.
So again, the boxing of business didn't allow Canelo to make the 2-fight deal through DAZN and...
Well, that's the claim. Okay. Why did he target Kovalev?
No, but look, that's facts. I'm only trying to keep the little, this show going. I haven't said a lot to you. I'm letting you cook, but nobody's retaliating to you. I mean, Frank don't like the facts.
What about Kovalev?
Some of the facts.
A
That's all it is.
legitimate question, though, is why didn't he fight Triple G back in 2015?
What do you mean?
Why didn't he fight Triple G back then? Like, why did he wait? Why did he wait all that time? Everyone was calling for the fight back then. He should have fought him back then. I feel like that was the only duck.
But
That's the only duck I say.
Also remember this, Mike. That's like saying that every fighter, like even Errol Spence and Crawford today, hasn't even happened 3 years.
Yeah, they're ducking. Yeah,
no,
they're ducking.
Yeah,
but
that fight still hasn't
15.
even been
He was
happening.
he was not even a middleweight.
Yeah,
I'm not sure whatever
class.
year it was, but there was a period of time where he did not
Look,
fight Triple
one
G.
thing I'll tell you on this channel, yeah, we are definitely no fucking Canelo Alvarez fanboys. And I'll tell you something else. What I don't like is when the facts get spoken, people don't like the facts either. Like Canelo wasn't in the same weight class. It wasn't the time
No,
for
he
him
was,
to fight
eh?
Golovkin. And let's keep it real. Even Mayweather and Pacquiao had fucking happened 7 years too late. And even when Canelo did fight Golovkin, Golovkin was a boogeyman at the time. He was the unbeaten champion. He was beating everybody fucking down the pillar and post. And Golovkin was the much bigger name than Jamal, Charlo, and Andre put together. He was the biggest name for everybody. So he went and beat a
Triple G and
pound
Canelo.
fighter. Go on, Punch.
Triple G and Canelo fought at the right time. You know what I'm saying? They didn't wait. They didn't wait. They fought at the right time. That first fight was at absolutely right time.
How was it the right time?
How was it not the right time?
Triple G was 36. Triple G was 36. Canelo, I'm just looking at the dates. Canelo moved to middleweight, looks like in 2015. So 2 years. It took 2 years. So why is that the right time?
And he dropped the belt to avoid the fight.
So because he's young and Triple G comes from another era, so you gotta rush Canelo Alvarez from 154. He started his career at 147, bro. Remember, the talks was Triple G and Andre Ward. It wasn't even all the way Triple G and Canelo Alvarez.
Facts.
Yeah, but it was Triple G and
Andre Ward and Triple G
for a number of years before they actually fought.
Yeah.
And
when you're agreeing. Yeah, but come on, Mike. Triple G was the biggest name. At that time, Andre and Jamal Charlo were nothing compared to
I'm not saying that he should. I don't think he should have ever fought.
So
I don't think those guys.
That fight with Triple G. That fight for Triple
G
and Canelo Alvarez demands respect. Triple G was a pound for pound fighter, mate.
Yeah, I'm just saying people were calling for that fight back then, though. Back in 2015.
Every fight we've been calling for back then. We never got it with anybody exactly when you wanted it.
But hold on, let me ask you though. Did he or did he not give up? Did he not give up a belt in order to not fight Triple G?
Well, back then he was doing. I don't understand what you're saying. Well,
did he drop a belt? Did he, to avoid fighting Triple G? Did he drop a belt to avoid him?
How did he avoid him? He ended up fighting him, didn't he?
I'm talking about
to delay the fight. Yes or no?
But is he? I mean, is he relevant if they already fought? Is he relevant?
Yes, if it's delayed. Yes, that's the whole point. Did he age him out? That's the whole point. Now you're gonna answer this question.
Did he drop the belt? Bro. He didn't age him out. That's irrelevant. They fought, bro. They fought.
What do you mean? You're saying age doesn't matter? What are you talking about, bro? Of course, age matters. That's the whole point.
It wasn't his fault. It wasn't his fault. It was 36 years old. Triple G was in his prime at that time.
What I'm saying, the primary fight that people was trying to see was Triple G and Andre Ward when they was in negotiations, and
they weren't in the same weight class. They were not in the same weight class. Those two.
All right, but Canelo Alvarez just appeared there. Like we didn't even wait for that fight. It was like a year and a half, and that's it. We got the fight. Like, what is the? I mean, is he relevant? We got Triple G and Canelo Alvarez. You're acting like we never had the fight.
Yeah, I mean, just Triple G was 36 years old at the time. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and Canelo could have moved up earlier. He was fighting Angulo and Kirkland before that, and an old Cotto. Amir Khan. He was fighting Amir Khan, who moved up 2 divisions. Liam Smith, like he had plenty of time. So it looks like the evidence is he waited when he could have fought Triple G earlier. That's the fact.
Well, that's
you're gonna keep it real.
You know what? You got your opinion.
So it's funny. So it's funny. The critique is of Triple G and Canelo Alvarez is that Triple G actually beat Canelo Alvarez, right? That's what the contention says. But he aged him out. What the fuck is that talking about? I thought
so this is my question, Punch.
So he aged him out and he still lost. He aged him out and he still lost.
Listen, this is my channel, bro. We got to respect what the subscribers are listening to. Now we're going to answer the question and we're going to go to everyone. Was the was the Triple G win for Canelo Alvarez one of the defining moments in his legacy? I'm going to ask, and was it at the right time in their primes? Well, let's keep it real. Did Canelo Alvarez fight Triple G in his prime? Yes or no? Mirage is simple. Yes or no?
No. No fighter is in his prime at 37.
Else. You don't need to answer nothing else. We're going to keep moving. No. What do you think, Mike? Yes or no?
No, I don't believe he was in his prime.
No from Mike. What are you saying, Frank?
At the right time, yes. The right time and the right fight.
Okay. What are you saying, Punch?
What was the question?
Did Canelo Alvarez and Triple G happen at the right time, both in their primes?
I think it happened in the right time. Yes, I think it happened in the right time.
So that's a defining legacy fight for Canelo. And the way that you got
and for Triple
G was, huh?
And for Triple G.
And for Triple G, that was a legacy fight. You know what I'm saying? They both weren't at their prime. Now, somebody says they both weren't at their prime. All right, listen. King's Code 415 says they both weren't at their prime. Con says, yes, it was at the right time. Bacon and Egg says, nah, it wasn't at the right time.
Okay, all right. So,
yes, Canelo won. GMM said, no, it wasn't at the right time. I mean, man, I thought that fight was both of them at their prime. Canelo Alvarez was going in for the kill. Triple G is a killer. Triple G was unbeaten. The man was fucking unbeaten. He beat the fuck out of everyone apart from Daniel Jacobs, and he beat Daniel Jacobs. So what the fuck do the fans want from these fighters?
Rapstar, when is a fighter in his prime of 36? You just making shit up.
What do you mean? Okay, let me ask
all right. So guess what?
How old's Terrence Crawford?
We shouldn't want to see Bud and Earl Spence because Bud Crawford is going to be 35 years old.
Hey, it's better than nothing. It's better than nothing. Yeah, but they're both past the prime. They're both past the prime. Sure.
They're both in their last primes. They're in their primes.
At the end of the primes.
Experienced fighters. They can beat anybody in the division right now. They're in
Okay,
their fucking prime.
That doesn't mean they're in your prime just because you can beat. Was Floyd in his prime at
Everybody, that
36?
means, listen, they're the
Was
best of
Floyd in
this
his prime
era.
when he boxed Canelo's ears off? Yes
What's the
or no?
prime then, bro? What was Canelo's prime if he didn't
That's an
fight
nitpick.
Golovkin in his prime?
Canelo was in his prime.
Was
I believe.
Floyd? Was
Golovkin
okay?
was in his prime too.
Oh, Golovkin was
Okay.
a little bit old, man. He was a
You
little
asked
bit
like
past it.
whether the fight was at the right time. That's a dodgy question. It was the right time for Canelo because he was younger, but it wasn't the right time for Triple G, in my opinion.
But
I
Triple
believe
G
that.
was beating everybody that they put in front of
Because he
him.
was
Yeah, but
fighting
he
bums. That's
wasn't the
why.
same as
What
he
do you mean?
was
How can you
back in
say that?
2000.
He fought Daniel Jacobs even at the
Dude,
time.
he was 30. He was
And he
37,
barely
bro.
beat him. He
37.
barely
Oh,
beat
come
him.
on, man. Listen, this is a
Dude,
bit of
you
hate.
just said yourself that Terrence Crawford is 35
Rapster.
years old, so he's getting
Rapster,
close.
was
Come on.
Mayweather in his prime at 36 when he beat Canelo?
Mayweather was even at his prime at 35, 36.
How did
Mayweather
Triple G
adapted
look?
to fight like that. Mayweather knew how to fight at all times.
Was he in his prime?
Well, his prime was even when he was in his
No,
prime,
of
bro.
course he was not
He
in his
still
prime.
still was beating everybody even when he was at 34, 35, 36.
Yeah,
Then
because he was
guess
so good.
then guess what? We shouldn't want to see David Benavidez and Canelo Alvarez because Canelo Alvarez been a professional since he was 15 years old. So I know he got way too many mileage in him. You know what I'm saying? He's going out of his prime. We don't want to see David
I think he is.
Benavidez.
You better
I
hurry
think
up.
he is out of his prime. I believe he is
So
out of
do
his
I.
prime right now.
I actually agree with that.
But you know what? A lot of
Let's
people.
keep it moving now because this
What a
debate,
lot of people.
this debate needs to. Sorry, Punch.
Yeah, but people that make these arguments, look, you got to
Go on,
understand.
Frank.
If you know boxing, then you understand matchmaking. So there's always going to be matchmaking, you know, in these arguments. But we can't act like that's not something that these guys do.
Yeah.
Well,
Their
And
anyway,
part of
handlers
look,
that is
we
do.
agree
ducking.
to
And part of that
disagree.
is ducking. That's the
Look,
point. You're
listen,
It's
denying that
not
part of
ducking. It's
matchmaking.
boxing. So you don't understand
Oh.
boxing and how it works.
Oh, I get it. Don't worry about
all
that.
right,
You
come
don't
on,
get it.
Gigs. All right, Mirage, look, we agree to disagree. You don't think Golovkin was in his prime when he fought Canelo. Some of us think he was in his still prime. It was a fight still in a great time.
Okay.
Much better than some of these fighters have ever fought each other. It was a legacy-defining fight. They both had a legacy fight. In your eyes, you think that he caught Golovkin when he was past his prime. That's it. Difference of opinions.
And you talked about a win. What win are you talking about? I didn't see no win either.
What do you mean win?
There's nothing we
You
can
said
do
it was
about
a
that.
legacy-defining win. I'm curious what win you're
Well,
talking about.
I'm
he
talking
I
about
got
technically
Triple
did.
G
okay,
beating him twice.
After that fight, I said they both had a legacy-defining fight, and then Canelo got a win.
Well,
Right?
yeah, but that's
Canelo
disputed.
did
I
get
don't
the
think he
win.
won. I
He
don't
Okay,
think he
did get
won,
so,
bro.
on paper. He
let's
won
keep
though.
it real. Let's talk facts. In the first fight for Golovkin, we're gonna go like this now on the chat. Now, we've gone everywhere on this subject. Now, on the first fight of Golovkin, did Golovkin get cheated out of that fight? Now, I watched the fight before I did this live, and I've watched the fight again. And you know me, I ain't got no dog in this race. But Canelo lost that fight. In the first fight, I got Golovkin winning that fight. He was more aggressive. Canelo Alvarez was more on his back foot. And Canelo Alvarez was doing a bit of movement and getting some punches off, but he never did anything to hurt Golovkin. He caught Golovkin a couple of times, but Golovkin also caught Canelo Alvarez. So in the first fight, I'm going to say Golovkin should have won. Now, my thing goes to what do you think about that, Frank?
I think it was fair, a draw.
Okay. You think it was fair decision?
The draw was fair. I
Man, this
mean,
guy's a
you can see
fanboy.
it how you want, but a draw is not a robbery, it's a draw.
So you think the actual decision was correct?
I didn't say correct, I said fair. There's a
Okay,
difference
fair.
between correct and fair. You know, if
Yeah,
we're talking about
fair.
boxing, we see guys get robbed all the time. And what robbing means is that a win was stolen from you and you lose a payday.
Now my thing goes to Mike from Boston. Mike, did Golovkin get cheated out of that first fight by the judges, or do you think it was fair decision that it was a draw?
No, I think the win was stolen from him. I think he should have had the win. He should have had the W in that fight.
He should have got the W. Okay, Mike, what do you think about it, Mirage?
I had it about 8-4, 7-5 at best, being very generous to Triple G, even if you look for excuses to give Canelo a rounds. And Frank, like, I'm wondering, are you curious, like, the overwhelming opinion from analysts, from fans, was that Triple G was robbed. So you're saying they're wrong, but you know better than them? Is that your opinion?
Who? Give me a name. Who? Where's your source? What are you using as your guideline?
Are you not aware that there was huge...
but see, I love when people say people. I want you to name and tell me what you're using.
Okay, so you're unaware that the overwhelming opinion...
No, but I want you to tell me, because I can say, well, people said that Canelo won. It doesn't... No. Who's people? My neighbor?
I'm saying the overwhelming opinion of...
Who? Of who? Boxing. Who's the overwhelming opinion?
I'm just telling you. All
who do you think won the fight,
the ring
bro?
observers, okay, the magazine analysts, you know, that from Ring Magazine, etc., that are watching the fight, they overwhelmingly thought Triple G was robbed. So you're saying they're wrong. You know better than them. They're all misguided.
Well, who said it? Where? When?
Frank, who do you think won the fight?
And I said it was fair. A draw was fair.
Who do you think won? Who do you? I'm sorry. I'm talking to the guy in the bottom left. Who do you think, if you in your heart of hearts, deep down, who do you?
In my scorecard, I would have had Triple G winning, razor thin. But again, that's why it's judging. That's why you have 3 judges. And if you understand boxing, you know what a robbery is and what a robbery isn't.
Okay.
Was it a bad decision? What about a bad decision?
That's what I said.
No, because we're talking about robbery. It was not a robbery.
Okay, was it a bad decision?
It doesn't matter. It was fair.
So
neither guy lost. Bro.
Neither guy lost as hell. You're bad faith.
A robbery would have been given it to Canelo.
I'm not talking about a robbery.
That's what the question was.
No, I just changed the question.
Okay? Well, you can't. That's not how these things work.
Why can't I change the question? Why?
You're dense because you're dense. That's why. You want to change your question. If Rapstar asks you, you can ask everybody. But when he does that, let that happen.
Fucking no. That's what you are.
No, you just want to be unfair and biased.
Oh, I'm biased.
Well, you want to control the conversation. You want to change the question. I want to narrow it
down so you can stop weaseling out of the question.
How is it weaseling?
Oh, yeah, it's a fair. What does fair mean? Well, it's boxing. You know.
Well, no, you want to call it a robbery. See, you want somebody to say it's a robbery so can
I told you,
help your argument.
You know, Ring Magazine, they have a whole bunch of analysts on there. Now, you want me to? Now, we all know what I mean. Want to talk about, you know, all the media, the analysts. Now,
but who? See, you can't say who.
That's the thing. Now, you want me to list each individual name?
No, one. Give me one. Give me one. Ring person said it was
Raphael, Kellerman, all those, you know, that crew, all those crew. There's about, you know, there was like 30 of them polled by Ring Magazine. Literally, I don't think barely any of them at all had Canelo winning. It was literally like overwhelming.
Two of them.
Yeah, and again, you can have whoever you want winning, but was it a robbery? Did they say it was a robbery?
Yes, they thought it was a terrible decision.
Who thought it was a robbery? You can say Max Kellerman had Triple G winning, but did he call it a robbery?
They thought it was a bad decision. Don't get stuck up.
But there's a difference. There's a big difference between
okay,
bad.
I concede it wasn't a robbery. Now,
okay,
now we're moving on to a bad decision. Was it a bad decision?
No. How?
Well, I just told you how, because
because your guy didn't win, it's a bad decision. If my guy wins, then I say it's a great decision. That's how boxing works. It depends on who wins. You call it good or great.
You're just showing. No, you're projecting your bias. You just exposed how you think.
No, if I was biased for Canelo, like you call me a Canelo fanboy. If I was the fanboy you claim, I would have just said, "Oh, Canelo won. He won." I would acknowledge that a draw was fair. If I was the fanboy that you claim, then I would have said Canelo easy. No, but I'm being fair and objective, saying a draw was fair.
So blatant. Yeah, because it was so blatant, you can't say Canelo won. So you have to just take the next step. Oh yeah, it was a draw. Blah blah blah. You're a fanboy.
Yeah, but he could have said that Canelo won the fight. He admitted that he.
Well, then it exposed him, so it would be too embarrassing.
I never said Canelo clearly won. When did I say he clearly won?
No. I'm agreeing with you, man. I'm saying that you said that you thought Triple G won when you could have said you thought Canelo won. So you're not being biased.
Yeah, I don't believe you're being Triple G, he most likely edged it out, but a draw was fair to both people, because if you understand how boxing works, okay, a robbery means that one guy moves on to bigger money fights, and the other guy has to go back to the drawing board, and that affects his earning potential. No, we're talking about the business of boxing and how it works. Okay, but a draw, then they both a draw means they can both go back to the negotiating table and negotiate fairly. Nobody loses because
that's the whole point. That's
if
the
Triple
corruption of
G
boxing.
was gonna stand his ground, he'd have said, "No, Canelo's a cheat. I was robbed, and I'm not fighting him again."
Yeah,
Marvin Hagler did that. He said, "You know, I was robbed, and he never fought again." So people can have integrity.
Okay.
So don't tell me
you're justifying
people don't have integrity in the sport.
You're justifying the corrupt nature of boxing, like Holyfield and Lewis, a blatant robbery to protect the fighter so they can build it up for a rematch because it's business. Yes, that is how robberies work. They make robberies for money to protect the cash cow.
But that didn't happen in this case.
There was no
robbery, and I just explained to you how and why there was no robbery.
A lot of people think
but
it was
who's
a
the
robbery.
people? You keep saying people. Who?
Teddy Atlas thinks it was a robbery. Look, it's pointless me listing like 20 people.
I'll look it up
I can list 20. I can list 30. And what are you going to say? You're going to say, oh, who else? Okay, many people think it was a robbery. Teddy Atlas, for example, Dan Rafael, Kellerman, all those guys.
When? Do you have?
What do you mean when? See, you're being bad faith. Who gives a fuck when? I was obviously after the fight. What do you want?
It's history, though. It's over now. There's nothing we can do about it now.
Okay, let's move. We want to move on to the second fight.
Okay, so now I'm gonna vote. Now we're gonna vote. So everybody in the chat now, you heard 3 people said that the fight with Gennady Golovkin, that Canelo Alvarez robbed Gennady Golovkin in that fight. In other words, basically, Golovkin won that first fight. Do you agree? I'm going to give 5 people. The first 5 people to answer, we're going to add you to this situation now. So, do you agree? Gennady Golovkin was robbed in the first fight with Canelo Alvarez. Yes or no? No.
Is Punch Drink still up here? No.
He'll be here in a sec.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I know he thinks.
Well, before we answer, we got Punch here, so we got to go to Punch. Wait, T-Pop says, no, wait, I might have to go to Punch now. He's here now. Hey, Punch, we're trying to get the votes. Did Golovkin, was he robbed in the first fight versus Canelo? Now, the chat, we got 3 people saying yes, 1 person saying no. In the panel, we got 3 people saying, yeah, Golovkin won that fight. Where are you with it?
Nah, not my opinion. I believe it could have gone. It could have gone to Triple G, but I don't. It was close. It wasn't a robbery to me.
But who won the fight in your eyes?
I had a draw.
So you're just gonna stick with the draw.
Mm-hmm.
When Mirage has been making me laugh. Mirage, tell Punch how many people: Teddy Atlas, Dan Rafael, Mike Coppinger, everybody in Boxing Punch.
90% thought it was a bad decision. 90%, I would say.
Which was the first fight or the second fight? Was the 118-110?
Hey, both.
We're talking about the first
fight. That was the first fight
with the 118-110. The first fight.
There was more outrage over the first. Put it that way. There was more.
I think it was more. I think the outrage was the judge.
Yeah, I agree.
That judge, I think, blindfolded everybody to even. I think that's where the Canelo hate really started. Is that 118-110?
Exactly.
I think that was the hate right there. Like, people said, fuck it, it's a robbery, Once they saw that 118-110, they felt like everything was, was corrupted.
Well, it's 50-50. The chat's got it halfway. The panel's got it a bit halfway. The chat saying that Golovkin won.
Look, for me, it was a draw, but if you give it to anybody, you'll give it to Triple G.
All right, so Punch agrees. If you give it to anybody, you would have given the first fight to Triple G. And that's just keeping it factual here. Is agree or disagree? And now somebody's saying Punch is a fanboy. Okay.
Anyway. How is he a fanboy? He just...
We'll add Punch to the fanboy list now.
No, he's not. He's not. Because if he was, he would have said Canelo won. He would have said Canelo won the fight.
Yeah, exactly.
He was not.
Let's keep it real now, Mike. I'm coming to you.
I don't care.
I'm coming to Punch, or you and then Punch. I'm going to you, then I'm going to Punch, and then I'm going to Mirage last because Mirage loves.
Should I be first? I want to be first. How about that?
No, you're going last on this one, bro.
Okay.
Yeah, you're going last.
Look, come on, Mike. The second fight, Canelo Alvarez came back in the second fight. He adapted. He showed the world that he wanted that rematch because people already said that he lost the first fight. In the second fight, who won, Gennady Golovkin or Canelo Alvarez? Straight to you,
I
Mike.
have to be honest. I scored it for Canelo my first time watching the fight.
Tell us why. Break it down. Why?
Because he was the aggressor. From what I saw at the time, he landed the more effective blows. His defense was better. I just thought he won the fight. I did rewatch it, and I could see it being a draw. But I gave it to Canelo after watching it the first time.
Okay, Mike's keeping it real. He gave the second fight with Gennady Golovkin versus Canelo to Canelo Alvarez. Okay, Punch, the second fight, bro. The second fight, a lot of people said it should have been a draw. Some people said they even had Golovkin fucking winning the second fight because what did Canelo really do?
Canelo 115, 113.
Tell us why.
Basically, on the same reason Mike said.
Why? Tell us. Just what Mike said, yeah? Yo, Punch, I lost you. All right.
You want me to say it again?
Frank.
Yes.
What did you see the second fight with Gennady Golovkin versus the chat saying it should be a draw? What do you think?
Well, again, another razor close fight. It was competitive all the way through. Each guy fought their heart out. But I believe that Canelo challenged Gennady at his own game. And that's what won the fight because, the big thing was Mexican style. And the first fight, Canelo had back-footed, but this time Triple G was on his back foot. And by the nature of that alone, Canelo Alvarez exerted his dominance. Now, I'm not saying he was dominant, but what I'm saying is in a fight, somebody has to exert their will in a tough, close, competitive fight between two pound-for-pound people.
Right.
I think the first and second fight is the way that it should have gone.
Do you think? Okay, let me ask this question then: who came into the second fight way better in shape, way more adapted to to that opponent? And in answering that, we got to let Mirage get his off, and then we got a Punch. What do you got to say about this in the second fight, Mirage? Who you got winning, Golovkin or Canelo?
Yeah, I rewatched the fight about 6 months ago.
Right.
Canelo started off much stronger, and he took the lead. He won most of the rounds, but in the championship rounds, his cardio, he slowed down considerably, and I think Triple G took over and he won most of the late rounds. I had it 7-5 Triple G. I think maybe generously a draw was possible then. It was a closer fight than the first.
Okay.
Can I say something, Rapstar?
Yeah, bro.
I think it's just hate because we have to understand that we're used to seeing Triple G and Canelo dominate. Like people expect to see that, but when you have two pound for pound guys, it's gonna be close and competitive unless one guy just is past it. But what's wrong with a close competitive fight where one guy edges it out?
Okay. Now my question is, Punch, are you there?
Yeah.
So we're basically going to be just speaking how people feel about Canelo Alvarez here now. Golovkin said the other day that, you know what? Canelo is not a fucking Mexican fighter, bro. He doesn't really have that heart. He's a strategic fighter. If you look at Canelo Alvarez, he's adapted his game. He wants to become an American stroke Mexican fighter. So he ain't one of those guys who's willing to die in the ring. He don't come forward. He ain't ready to come like the real Mexican style was me, right? Now, in this era in boxing, if this was in the 90s, in the Chavez era, if this was an era of before, people would be slandering Canelo. I'll tell you that now. Because Mexican style, this is just the way that this Mexican myth came, is that Chavez Sr. is willing to die. He's willing to take punches. He's coming forward, even if it's Pernell Whitaker, even if it's Oscar De La Hoya and he's losing, even if it's anybody. You will see Chavez Sr. be the real Mexican hero for the Mexican people.
So be real and say that Canelo Alvarez doesn't fight Chavez style. Don't say Mexican style.
But that's
Salvador Sanchez didn't fight like Julio Cesar Chavez. So what is this? the attaching Mexican style to Julio Cesar Chavez. No, Canelo Alvarez is a Mexican and he fights his way. Julio Cesar Chavez is a Mexican and he fights his way. What people want is for Canelo Alvarez to fight like Julio Cesar Chavez. That's not Mexican style. That's Julio Cesar Chavez style.
Yeah, but don't most Mexicans fight like that? Morales, Barrera, etc. Like generally, they do have a sort of a similar attacking style, don't they?
Okay, so if we can, okay, Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson, is that African American style, or is that Muhammad Ali style, and this is Mike Tyson style? Like,
we're gonna get the victim mentality people all upset, man.
I mean,
no, but I'm just saying, like,
I'm just fucking with you, man. I'm joking.
I'm saying people are saying the Triple G is saying that he doesn't fight Mexican style. Triple G is not even a Mexican. He's getting trained by a Mexican. But I think that Triple G, what he's trying to say to the people is, I want him to stand in front of my face and I want him to fight in the style that I'm comfortable in fighting in, so I can have my advantage. No, Triple G, you have to adjust to whatever style that Canelo Alvarez. And when he made the adjustments, when Canelo Alvarez says, okay, I'm not gonna move around, I'm gonna stay there. You want Mexican style, what quote unquote, which I think is Mexican style, and he beat you in the style that you wanted him to fight you in.
I mean, that could be one reason, but don't you think Mexican style has more
aggression,
more similarity if you took all the Mexican fighters than say African American style? Like pretty much most, at least contemporary, like last 30 years, Mexican, Margarito, Benavidez, like you could go down the list. They all come forward aggressive. I think there is a legitimate label. I think
it's an evolution. I think Bam Rodriguez, well, you could say he's Mexican American, but it's everybody got a different style. You know what I'm saying? Within whatever region you in. Sometimes people say that the Midwest fighters fight almost the same way, but Adrian Broner and Sean Porter are two different people, but they're from Ohio. You know what I'm saying? I think that's nitpicking.
It's a myth.
Exactly, yeah.
And if you notice, there was a fighter named Juan Manuel Marquez, and the reason he got flack was because he was like the opposite of Mexican. He had almost lost to HBO. Remember, he fought an African American fighter and stuck the joint out. And so, really, when we're talking about Mexican style, it's just who you're facing, and that's just boxing. Period. Your style's gonna depend on who you're facing.
Well, but there's always an exception to every rule. I mean, didn't Chavez and Barrera, they still fought the same pretty much versus all opponents. I mean, they generally did,
No, Barrera, when he faced Manny Pacquiao again, decided to box. He didn't want that smoke. Remember that second fight? They weren't exchanging. He boxed.
But again, like we're talking exceptions. There's always rare exceptions, but for like 98% of his career, you could say he fought that style. And when there's a Mexican fighter in the ring, they generally have a
no. What happened in the next three Morales and Barrera fights? Did they slug it out?
Well, I mean,
no. Morales was a great boxer. He had a ton of fights where he could choose to slug it or box.
Well, so if you don't do 100% of the time, then you don't have the
That's
style.
why it's a myth. I just said Juan Manuel Marquez. It depends on who you're facing. He changed his style because he wasn't going to get back on HBO after he stunk the joint out.
You think
he could have beat a lot of people easy.
Trying to piss him off? You think Triple G just trying to piss Canelo off? Maybe.
Even if you can change your style, sometimes you still have your own style.
Remember the Baby Bull? He probably had the most Mexican style, but he didn't get the credit because he had pillow fists.
Whatever you want to call Canelo, I mean, I think he's a boring fighter in my opinion.
I would be bored. Come on, man.
I think you know what Canelo is that probably some people may think he is. He's not a knockout artist. He's not this one punch knockout artist. So I think people got the misconception of Canelo Alvarez. Some people, I'm not gonna say all people, but I think people feel like that he's supposed to just knock out everybody. Like this streak that he had, knocking these guys, Plant, Saunders. I think he was in that black, like on that invincible mode, but he's not. He's a break you down type of fighter, not this knockout artist.
Yeah, but even if
Okay.
you break him down, you can still be exciting. But to
Okay.
me, he's just boring, and then he eventually gets a knockout eventually.
Okay.
So a
Well,
knockout
we're
can
gonna
be boring.
sorry.
Yeah.
All
That
right,
can
come on,
be
guys.
boring.
We're gonna keep this one bubbling. Yeah, we got 60 people in the show. Yeah, how many likes we got on this, Radar? How many likes we got, Radar? Because I know that you one of the mods. How many likes we got out here? Because we're cooking out here. How many likes we got
We're
out here,
cooking
bro?
Canelo. We're cooking him. No worries.
No, we're not. We're keeping it real out here, bro. But yeah, I'm letting everybody get their shit off. Everybody gets their 2 minutes, their 1 minute, and let everybody else speak. But my next question is,
Oh, let me say this, Rap Star,
mm,
because you from the UK.
mm,
When people say the UK style, some people see it as Billy Joe Saunders. They see it as Tyson Fury before Deontay Wilder. They elusiveness, you know what I'm saying, moving around the ring. But was Nigel Benn that?
Ricky
no,
Hatton.
Nigel Benn was a come forward fighter, which was a brawler.
Exactly. So it's like if somebody says, "Oh, that's not the UK style. You got to fight like Josh Kelly. You got to fight like these guys," and be like, "What about not what Nigel Benn did and Ricky Hatton?" You see, so I it's a myth that the Mexican style myth. You know what I'm saying? I think is a myth. At this point, is a myth.
Okay, but let me say this then. You say that the Mexican cut style was a myth, but Mirage gave you some names that the people said that's Mexican style at that time. When Morales was going through people, they said that's the Mexican style. When Chavez was fighting everybody, and he was the Mexican style. Salvador Sanchez, he's got the Mexican style. So Mirage gave you a point that at that time there was these fighters which were known for come forward, aggression, and ready to die in the ring, where they just style of fighting would break down technical fighters. So they were willing to absorb more punishment and they were willing to do or die in the ring. What people are saying is that Canelo, even Chavez has said it himself, that he's not a Mexican style, he's got an American style. He's adapted in the years, and now from learning from Mayweather and stuff like that, he's a bit more technical. He doesn't fight like a Mexican who wants to take people's heads off like that. You know what I'm saying? That's
He
what we're
never
saying.
fought like that.
Well, exactly. So he's not Mexican style.
But Marquez never fought like that either.
But
He
we're
wasn't
saying that,
Mexican style either.
yeah, but Barrera was. He fought like that.
But
No,
Barrera
he
came
he
but
in.
he
Ray,
he could
but Ray,
box too. He
pe-
boxed
pe-
Manny Pacquiao the second fight. So
people
where
But
were the
people
what we're
brawling
saying
men?
is when they
people are
went for
memor
it, they went all out, even if they got knocked out.
people are
They went all
memorized.
out.
People
Look,
people people are memorized with the fight. So when they this particular fight of Barrero and Morales is that particular fight, and they say, "Wow, what a Mexican war!" You know what I'm
yeah,
I
but
saying?
got an example. Mark Barrera boxed Nassim Hamed. He didn't go in
Facts.
there and Mexican style because he knew Nassim was so fast and quick
what
that
we
that
what we're
kind of
saying is that we
style you're
never
gonna get
said that
KO'd.
Barrera can't box. We're not saying
Yeah,
Barrera
we're
No,
not
can't
no, no.
box.
saying
I'm
that.
just saying the Mexican style because we you say Mexican style, so
But
throw
the myth
Barrera
of
Morales in
Mexican
there.
style was a big thing in the 80s and the 90s. It was there. It was about these fighters having
Pocket
this come
fighting,
forward.
toe to toe pocket fighting. That's what people means about Mexican style. But not everybody just stood there in the pocket and just brawl. They're thinking about the great back and forth matchup, and that creates a Mexican style. But it's not every Mexican fights the same way.
All right. Now, I had a great question, man, but you took me somewhere with Mexican style now, so I got to go to this question, bro. Is Canelo Alvarez the best Mexican fighter coming out of Mexico right now today in his legacy, achievements, and what he's done as a fighter in the ring? Is he better than Is he the man who goes number one now? No more Salvador Sanchez, not Chavez, not Eric Morales, not Barrera, not Marquez, who killed the Mexican assassinator in Pacquiao. That will go down as one of the best wins for Marquez in his life. But is Canelo Alvarez the best Mexican fighter today, at right now in the world? Who wants to answer first on that one? All right, Mike, is Canelo the best Mexican fighter who ever lived?
I don't think that we can say yet for sure. I think could possibly be that, but as of right now, if he were to retire today, no.
Who have you got as the best Mexican fighter if it's not Canelo?
I mean, you already mentioned both of them, either Salvador Sanchez or what's his name, the senior. I mean,
Chavez
listen,
Senior.
Chavez Senior. He had. I feel like if Canelo were to retire today, I couldn't say that he was greater than either of those two guys.
Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. said that Canelo Alvarez is the best.
Yeah, but we're saying
Okay,
what we
well,
think.
I'm
We're
just saying
saying what we
personally
think.
for me, I wouldn't say it.
All right, well, let's go to Punch. Punch, is Canelo Alvarez the best ever Mexican fighter now?
I say at this point, yes, but he could take a hit if he loses to Triple G. I think it'll take a hit, and I think the Bivol maybe take a little hit, but if he loses to Triple G in his prime, which I think is going to take a hit, and I think people are going to just say, hell no, is straight up Julio Cesar Chavez.
So you say that even if you think Canelo is the best Mexican fighter, maybe on years to come, it'll still be Chavez.
If
With the
Canelo
Mexican
Alvarez,
people.
if Canelo Alvarez takes a couple more losses, depending on who he's fighting, if he takes a Triple G and he loses to Triple G and then go fight David Benavidez and lose to David Benavidez, Julio Cesar Chavez. But he could, for me right now, he's the best Mexican ever.
Okay, what'd you say, Frank? Is Canelo Alvarez the best Mexican fighter?
I wasn't kind of understanding you. You said it's a Mexican today, or we're counting legacy, icon status?
All time.
Oh, of all time.
Mm.
I'm gonna say, this is my opinion. As far as right now, yes, and this is why. What's the most impressive thing we can see is a little guy going up and beating bigger guys in boxing. Would you agree with me on that?
Yeah, he's been fighting in different weight classes.
Well, like, let's take, why were we so fascinated with Manny Pacquiao? Because we seen a little guy at 112 go all the way 8 weight classes and beating these huge men. Now, when was the last time we seen a small little Mexican go beat somebody like Kovalev, a 175 pounder? And I'm talking about Mexicans. Oscar tried to do it and he couldn't do it. He went to 160 and got beat. That's the last Mexican icon we can think of. Julio could never go up to 147. He just wasn't big enough. But what Mexican, and Canelo's small. He started at 147. So we're talking about a 5'8", small frame guy. You've seen how much bigger these guys are than him. Look, you just seen what Liam Smith did. Look how big he was at 175. So that's my reasoning, is that when was the only person who could probably do it now is Bam Rodriguez if he wanted to go all the way up to 126.
Well, I'm going to say this in Chavez's favor. He beat some serious people. He beat a man which was a gold medalist and one of the best ever fighters, which was American's dream. And that was Medrick Taylor. And Chavez kept coming. At the end, he knocked out Medrick Taylor, who was a technical, much better fighter than Chavez ever was. Then we know that there was a fight that you could have said, yeah, he got, Pernell Whitaker won, but he didn't win. Chavez Sr. got the draw against Pernell Whitaker. Then he beat a guy called Frankie Randall. And I remember Punch telling me in 1 year, he fought these champions back to back. And this guy, Chavez Sr., also had like 80, 90 wins before he ever lost. So in his time, it was like fighting many more people. I think people will love that man maybe more than Canelo when everything's said and done. I think in your eyes on paper, it should be Canelo. But I think the love for Chavez will probably grow even in time to come, that Canelo will never be the Chavez of Mexico. Maybe he might capture them later. We don't know. But we know that Chavez is that guy who Mexico really embraced by their number one guy, from what I've seen. You know what I mean?
Okay.
What'd you say, Mirage? Is he the best Mexican?
Okay. The best Mexican fighter for what? For getting his ears boxed off twice in his prime, for ducking the best fighters
You're
in
funny,
every
Brian.
division he's ever fought in, for
I'm
never
going to give
being the
you
best
2 minutes.
fighter in every division, in any division. He's never been the best fighter in any division. And you want me to say he's the best? No, I don't think so. And you guys haven't mentioned Oscar De La Hoya. How is he better than Oscar De La Hoya? You know they both fought the same guy, right?
Yeah, because he's
They both
people
fought.
consider him
Hey,
American
fanboy. Hey,
Mexican.
calm down.
No. I'm putting Oscar De La Hoya as a Mexican, as his ancestors are Mexican. So
They
I'm going to
both
put him as
fought.
a Mexican. You know what? That's a good point. Oscar De La Hoya
People
was a
forget De La
5-weight
Hoya
world champion.
because he
I
wore
said
fishnet.
Oscar.
Yeah,
Because he
Oscar
wears
De La
fishnet
Hoya has
stockings
got a good
in his
point.
spare time, they forget about him.
Yeah, tell us
But
about Oscar De La Hoya, why you think he
okay,
should be going down better than Canelo.
firstly, he fought tougher opposition. He fought the best guys. Mosley was the pound for pound when he fought him. Like he was the man in his prime. He went up there and fought. He didn't go and choose the third best fighter in the division. So Oscar De La Hoya fought um, badass fighters. I think his resume is better. Um, he
He
he was
beat the
never he was
legendary Chavez. He beat the legendary Chavez.
well, he beat the crap out of him. Yeah, and Oscar used to beat up quality fighters. He didn't just have these boring decisions.
He
Like
beat Ike
he
Courtney as well. Ike Courtney. And
yep he used to
Fernando Vargas.
So
Ferocious, ferocious Fernando Vargas, man.
So are we
yeah
Fernando
implementing
Vargas
Vargas
was
was
a
a
American
beast.
top
American
guy.
Mexicans? Are we implementing American
Yeah,
Mexicans?
we
Yeah,
are. We
man.
are. We are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
De La Hoya,
Yes.
he never got his ears boxed off in his prime like Canelo, exposed completely. He fought Floyd past his prime. He gave Floyd a better fight than Canelo.
That's
That's another
facts. That's
consideration.
facts. That's
That's
facts.
facts.
That is. I'll give you
I
that
don't
much.
care.
Oscar De La
Yep,
Hoya gave Floyd a better fight. He nearly beat. He
yeah,
beat
and
Floyd.
he's
He
multiple
beat
division
Floyd.
champ.
Some people said he beat
Yeah.
Floyd.
So I don't even think they talk about Chavez. What about De La Hoya? Just because he wears his stockings and he does some dirty shit in his spare time, now they think he's a
No,
joke. He was a fucking badass.
he's got
De
a
La
point
Hoya's
there,
a fucking
Punch.
badass.
He's got
So
a point there.
he's not even at De La Hoya's level in my opinion.
They
He's below
fucking
that.
no. Let me stop you. You're right there. They slander De La Hoya for his
Yeah.
personal life.
Hey, head to head, I'm picking De La Hoya in their prime. Their left hook was nasty.
Well, then
I'm
I got
picking
De
his
La
knees
Hoya
are
then,
there,
bro.
bro.
savage.
We're getting straight there, man. You took my
Yeah.
next question.
There you
Who
go.
would win? Who would win a fight in their prime at 150? I'll say 158 catch weight.
Now we doing fantasy
We're
shit.
doing catch weight. Yes, we are. Just like Conor Ben's doing with Chris Eubanks. Just like this guy did with that guy. We're gonna do a catch weight fight in their
Why not
prime.
154? It can be 154. Canelo, that was his legit. He was a legit fighter at
Yeah.
154. I
Hey,
mean,
look, man, you guys need to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. All right, mate? It's going to be at 158. It's a fucking fight. Oscar De La Hoya in his prime. Canelo Alvarez. Who wins that fight? And I'm going to go to Mirage. You can get your 2 minutes off now.
I think Oscar De La Hoya, great jab. He had a great jab. The length. He was 5. He has. Oh, sorry, I'm just getting distracted. Um, great jab length. He could really box. He was a better boxer than Canelo, a better technician. Significantly taller, like he's 5'10", 5'11". The left hook, more punching output. Just all round, just a slicker boxer, higher ring IQ. And I think he would have outboxed Canelo in their primes. Yeah, they box him clearly.
Well, and De La Hoya was bigger, longer, rangier.
Yeah, just a better
Frank,
boxer.
Frank,
Yes.
Oscar De La Hoya in his prime. Canelo Alvarez. It's on 158. It's on. Who wins?
Oh, Canelo, easy. Now,
Talk to
because
me. Talk
we're
to me.
talking about 158 now. We got to
Yes,
remember
man. Yes.
when Oscar went up to 160, he lost to Felix Sturm, and he looked out of shape. He could never carry the weight.
But he
Canelo
won on paper.
is entirely more dedicated to the sport than Oscar was. That's just a fact. I mean, Oscar, yeah, he was great, but he lacked dedication. I mean, he made an album in between runs. Let's not forget that. And I love Oscar De La Hoya. I grew up on Oscar. But if we're talking about 158 and Canelo, Canelo's just stronger, and he would stop De La Hoya. Now they both fought but they both fought at 147. So if you ask me at 147, when you look at Canelo at 147, he was slow and soft.
Question. Oscar De La Hoya in that question, that's a different subject.
Yeah, but I'm just saying at 147, Oscar would pepper Canelo and stop Canelo. If you remember, he was fighting on Telefutura fights for a few years at 147, and he was slow. He was awkward.
Fair, though. I should be fair to Oscar in this, right? They're both very young. Let's say at 154.
Oh man, well, I mean, who's Oscar's best wins at 154? Fernando Vargas and Mayorga.
Yeah, Fernando Vargas was a strong fucking man. Jeez.
Yeah, and Oscar went life and death with them in that fight.
Oscar dealt with Fernando Vargas. No. We're gonna keep it real. I watched the fight the other day. Oscar De La Hoya put hands on Fernando Vargas.
Fernando Vargas had his moments.
He calculated Fernando Vargas.
Yeah, he had moments. He did.
Totally played chess moves on him, and then he put a beating on him.
Well, Vargas had tired out. If you remember, he got busted for PEDs on that fight.
And Fernando Vargas took steroids in that fight.
Yeah. Shoot, man, that's the one I would rather see. Canelo and Oscar at 154.
Yeah.
Man.
Canelo, Oscar at 154.
I'm gonna take Canelo. I just think his dedication, his strength would be the victory.
Okay. What do you think, Mike?
We're talking about, she's saying 154. When are we talking about Canelo? Like Canelo from back when he was at 154 or now?
When they were both young, coming up, and then Canelo was fighting people like Ryan Rhodes, Matthew Hatton. Then he got into Austin Trout fight, and then he moved up.
I don't know. I can't really say. I mean, I would have to say. I mean, I want to say Oscar because of the history, but again, Canelo's chin is so strong, and he's I don't know, man. That's a 50-50. I got no idea. I got no fucking idea.
All right, then, man. Hey, look, we've been keeping this show really factual. We just wanted to keep, take it a little bit exciting there. Let's get back to facts now. We haven't finished with the Canelo whole legacy yet. We know he's one of the pound-for-pound fighters. If he beats Golovkin, I want one name from everybody in the chat, and smash that fucking like button for Rapstar. We're still cooking. I want one name for everybody in the chat. If the pound-for-pound fighter beats Golovkin in this trilogy, who should Canelo fight next and why? And I'm going to go to Mirage first.
Mirage. You already know his answer.
I know. Mirage. Where you at, Mirage? I can't hear him. Mike, who should Canelo Alvarez fight if he beats Golovkin? I want one name.
I think he should go back to 168 and fight David Benavidez. So then there'd be no more arguments about whether or not he fought the best competition at 168, and he can truly say that he beat everyone that was there for him to fight. And I don't think he should go back up to light heavyweight. I think that's not his weight class.
All right. I'm going to answer mine, and then we're going to come to Frank. Canelo Alvarez is a kind of man, that has something flickering in the back of his head. He tried to go and beat this guy, and this Russian, he just lost against Demetrius Bivol. That must be burning Canelo Alvarez inside. If Canelo Alvarez wants to prove to the world that he wants to be that guy who beats this guy after this rematch, after like he did with Golovkin when it was a draw, and some people said Golovkin won, then Canelo Alvarez, if he wants to continue legacy, he needs to fight Demetrius Bivol. Demetrius Bivol is the man who beat Canelo. If Canelo wants to prove anything anymore, he needs to beat Demetrius Bivol then. That's the name for Canelo if he wants to carry on going with legacy. But if he stays at 168, there's only one name, bro, and that's David Benavidez. There should be no cap. David Benavidez, if he stays at 168, though. If he stays at 168, The name has to be David Benavidez. Who else is at 168 anymore? If Canelo Alvarez decides just to stay at 168, there really can't be a name for him anymore. Where's he going? He's beaten everybody. He's gone through everybody in there. There's only one guy left who can give him a challenge and who everybody in the boxing world wants to see him fight. It has to be David Benavidez if he wants to stay at 168. What do you think? Who hasn't answered that one?
Oh, you're me, I think.
Yeah, go on.
Okay, Rapstar. So you threw out a couple names, and my
Yeah.
first choice would be the Mexican Monster, obviously. But what I want to put in people's heads is something I heard. We got to remember Bivol is going to face Zurdo. So if Zurdo were to win that, it would have to be Zurdo. Even bigger than Benavidez, 175 title on the line. Canelo Alvarez versus another Mexican and Zurdo. Because Bivol has a match coming up. Another name, and we got to look at how we know how boxing works, and which is probably more likely than everybody. Jaime Munguia versus Canelo Alvarez next year. Mark it on your calendars.
168, you mean?
He's moving up to 168. Jaime Munguia, they're the same. There's no roadblocks. Jaime Munguia versus Canelo Alvarez. Sign me up.
So what about if Zurdo beats Demetrius Bivol?
It's got to be Zurdo. They're
Hey,
two Mexicans.
ladies and gentlemen, that's a good point. If Zurdo beats Demetrius Bivol and Canelo Alvarez reckons he's got the style to beat Zurdo, he might think, fuck it, I might go for Zurdo now because Zurdo beat the boogeyman who beat Canelo. So
You better
it could
pray,
end up.
man.
Zurdo,
I mean, Zurdo could end up, but who would you want him to fight, Mirage? Who should Canelo fight if he beats Golovkin next?
okay. You talked about legacy for the legacy to go up and get revenge on Bivol, but the problem is, if he can't beat Bivol, if he's going to get his ears boxed off again, the best option for his legacy is never to fight Bivol again and just use it as like the one time, oh, I moved up, it's not my division. That excuse works once, right? You can get away with it. But if you try again and you lose even more badly, that's going to hurt your legacy. So he should not fight Bivol again, in my opinion. He shouldn't even be a 175. He's not a 175 fighter. So he should skip that, get serious, defend the belts in his division. And it should obviously be the Mexican Monster. But I'm on the record, and everybody can listen. I don't think he's ever going to fight Benavidez. He's going to retire before he fights Benavidez, in my opinion.
So you actually think the
Yeah.
pound for pound, one of the best Mexican
Yeah.
fighters who have ever lived, I just want you to get it off, is actually
Build
ducking.
it up, Norris. Go.
Yeah. Hey, listen, Mirage is saying that Canelo Alvarez internally is ducking David Benavidez. He's going to duck him and he'd rather retire. Is that what you're saying?
He would rather retire than take a beating and get TKO'd by the Mexican Monster. That's my official belief. And there's a lot of evidence that he's ducked him. I mean, whenever he's asked, you will not find a video of Canelo ever saying his name. When he is pressed about it, he goes, "Oh, what's he done? What's he done? Is he worth it? Blah blah blah." That's code for ducking. What's he done? He's a Mexican Monster. He's rings ranked #1. He's destroyed everybody. This guy is not some no name. This guy deserves the fight. So whenever you start playing these games, oh, what's he done? He's admitting basically to me he's scared. And as what was it, Frank? Frank was
Well, let's
talking about
break it
Munguia.
down in facts.
I
Let's
think
break it
I think
down in facts.
Munguia he'll probably fight Munguia actually. I predict that as well.
Well, let's break it down in facts. David Benavidez, you think, is all wrong for one of the greats of our era right now. Because this guy, David Benavidez, why? Because he's big, he's like a monster, he breaks people down, He's way bigger than Canelo. He's got more power than Canelo. He's going to try and overwhelm Canelo. Is that some of your argument here?
In every single category that you just listed, he's a horrific matchup. The size. He's bigger than Bivol. Go check it out. He's bigger than Bivol. The speed, the hand speed. He's faster. The combinations. He throws twice as many punches per round. You can't escape him. He's a pressure fighter. And last but not least, he's a cardio machine. He throws 20 punch combinations in the 11th round. So basically, the only way Canelo beats him if he catches him and stops him, they talk about, he's going to get him to the body, he's going to fold him in half, whatever. How many fighters has Canelo stopped? Who's the best fighter Canelo stopped? A 37-year-old Kovalev? Canelo doesn't stop elite fighters. So
David Benavidez hasn't even fought an elite fighter though, ever.
Yeah, but but he's like a top class fighter. Canelo doesn't just stop and knock out
based
elite
on what
fighters.
though? Like he hasn't. We haven't seen him do anything really. Like
So let me get to the next
He's
person.
a two-time champion. He's destroyed every opponent. What do you mean?
I mean, he's fought weak.
Let's make this a proper debate. No. Let Mirage get his off, and then it's Mike from Boston. Mirage, you got another 60 seconds left.
I'm talking about we can talk about the other thing, but I'm talking attributes, head-to-head attributes. You look at it on paper, he's all wrong for Canelo in every single category. Like, I cannot even think of an area where Canelo's better. I mean, somebody told me, because I can't. Like, I reckon he just overwhelms Canelo. Brutal TKO, round 7 or 8.
Are you done? All right, well, let me wait. Are you done? Any more?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, now let's go to you, Mike. You got 2 minutes.
I mean, you're talking about TKO, and Canelo has the best chin. He is probably the best chin in the entire sport. He's not getting stopped, hit to the face. You think that this guy's going to work into the body? Canelo, I think Canelo did this fight with Benavidez. It's not going to be nearly as hard as the fight against Bivol. Bivol is the nightmare matchup for him. That is the style that he needs to stay away from. And we saw what happened. I was getting some respect
for you, bro. You just
no, Mirage, let him have his 2 minutes. Then you can rebut.
We saw what happened when he fought Bivol. That style was a nightmare matchup for him. We saw what happened. We saw the evidence. We haven't seen the evidence that David Benavidez' style is all wrong for him. You're making a guess basically based on what you've seen from David Benavidez. And we don't have a lot to go on. He hasn't fought a lot of top competition. Canelo may wash his ass. I predict Canelo wins that fight.
Okay, you done? Are you done, Mike from Boston?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to come back with anything for that?
Yeah, I'll respond to that nonsense. Yeah.
Go on.
So Bivol. Okay, we can talk about Bivol's style. Well, to me, Bivol's style. I mean, Benavidez' style is like superior than Bivol. He's faster, he's bigger, more power. So if Bivol give him trouble, how can you deny Benavidez? And let's talk about Triple G. They're sort of similar. Benavidez, Triple G, come forward, pressure fighter. If Triple G, 36-year-old, gave Canelo hell back then, but Benavidez is bigger, faster, and he punches damn hard, you could say comparable, I think more, than that version of Triple G. So if he was tough, how's Canelo going to deal with like a bigger, more dangerous version of Triple G, like a Triple G, a Mexican version of Triple G on steroids? Like every single angle to me, he's got nothing for him. I can't see it.
Well, I mean, but you have to admit though, the guy does look a little bit flat-footed, and there doesn't have the best footwork. I don't think he has
Canelo's
the power.
got no footwork.
But Canelo has world-class experience. He's fought against. This guy does not have that experience. He has not fought against the type of competition. I mean, who is he fought against? It's a lot of this game is about the competition you face and the skill you've developed from fighting those guys. I mean, he just doesn't have the names. He doesn't have the experience. Like, I mean, we have to admit that at least. Like, dude doesn't have the experience, and that's with Canelo.
Sure, he may not have the experience like professionally, but he has a pedigree. Like, he's been boxing since he's 4 years old. He grew up sparring like Triple G, Pavlik. quality fighter. So he has his background, and to me, he has a natural talent. So he knows how to fight in the ring. And Canelo, this experienced high IQ, where was it against Bivol? He was one-dimensional, plodding. Like, I think he's regressed as a fighter. I don't think he's even as good as he used to be. So Canelo's ring IQ, in my opinion, is overrated. They're talking about something
I
like years
agree with
ago.
that.
So he's not as good. So people need to consider that.
So what about when people say, you know what, Benavidez is just a come forward fighter. He'll be there for the taking when Canelo can move some angles on him, experience. You know, Canelo knows how to deal with bigger fighters. He's always fought bigger fighters like he did with Kovalev. But we got to also agree that David Benavidez has shown that he is going through fighters. But at the same time, these fighters are C plus fighters. Canelo's been fighting the elites of the game, and he's been destroying elites. Callum Smith is taller than David Benavidez, right? But Callum Smith tried to box Canelo, and he couldn't box Canelo. Now David Benavidez, yeah, he's got strength, he's got size, but he's also not on the level when you talk about the people that Canelo's dealt with. So we just got to keep it factual there. Does David Benavidez is this real risk for Canelo? Yeah, of course he is. Does that a fight that I want to see next? Yeah. If Canelo Alvarez doesn't fight Dimitri Bivol and he beats Gennady Golovkin, Rapstar said it first, the fight for him is the biggest fight, and that would sell out in minutes. And that fight would be the Mexican Monster versus Saul Canelo Alvarez. That's a
Yeah,
fact.
Rapstar. I'm going to agree with you. Benavidez is not on the level of Canelo, a lot of Canelo's opponents. He's a level above. He's a level above all those fighters. That's where it's at. He's a level above Callum Smith. That guy's a bum. Who the hell is Callum
Dude,
Smith?
Caleb Smith
Callum
looked
Smith got
great,
beat
man. He
up by
looked.
John Ryder. He got
But you
walked down
can't.
and
Did
No,
beat
you
up.
no.
did
But
you
listen,
see?
you can't say that because he won the tournament. He won. He was beating
Dude, fuck the
everybody at that
tournament. How
time,
about that?
and that
Fuck
Dude,
the
that
did you
was
see?
tournament.
Did
still.
you
Yeah, but
see him
that
at
was
light
still the
heavyweight,
number
man?
one guy. He was
At
the
Who did
light,
he
number
beat in
one
a
guy.
tournament?
dude, he
Who did
Yeah,
he
just
but
beat in
what
a
I'm
fought.
saying
tournament?
is he
He
was the
beat some
number one guy.
kickboxer.
David Benavidez lost his fucking belts to his own good. What did he do?
Twice.
He took
Twice.
cocaine, and then fucking David Benavidez is out there with strippers taking fucking coke up his
I don't
lungs.
give a fuck if he bangs
Yeah, but that's
strippers every
David
night.
Benavidez' fault. That's fucking David Benavidez' fault. That wasn't Canelo's fault. And this is where David Benavidez fucked up, Mirage, and he
Are we
fucked it up
talking
for
about
us.
boxing ability or how
But
many
let me,
hookers they've
yeah,
banged?
but
What are
you're
you
the one
talking
who
about?
said, you're the one who went there. That's why I went there. But all I'm telling you is David Benavidez had a chance. He had an opportunity to hold a belt, and he himself
That's a
lost the
different
belt.
argument.
He
That's a
lost the
different
belt.
argument.
He lost the
Yeah,
belt. And
he's an idiot.
Canelo,
Okay, and
let
what?
me just say this though, bro. If you want to know the facts, or you just want to carry on listening yourself, the facts are, if David Benavidez had the belt, then Canelo Alvarez would have had to go through him to be undisputed. But now, what we're saying is, if he beats Canelo, if Canelo beats Golovkin, then the next fight for him can only be, if it's going to be at 168, and he's not going to want to have his rematch, it should be, I agree with you, it should be David Benavidez.
Okay, you can argue about whose fault is this and that. Okay, that's his fault, but that's a fact. The other fact is he's still a level above the likes of Callum Smith, Plant, Jacobs, even Bivol. He's a level above all them.
Dude,
That's the bottom line. You talk about
dude,
this
We
tournament.
don't know if
Who
David
the hell did he?
Benavidez
Who
is a
the hell
better
did he
level
beat?
than
Hang on.
Bivol.
Let's
We
talk about
don't
this
know that.
tournament.
We don't know that though. If he's better level than Bivol, we
No,
don't know
I
that.
know.
we
That's the
don't we
point.
We
don't know
I
don't
that.
know, and
We
know
I'm
don't
yet.
telling
we
you
do
right
not we
now.
do
But
I'm
not
we
know
educating
that.
you
haven't
guys.
we haven't seen David Benavidez beat the elites yet. We
He
haven't.
he, he
No, but
fought
I've seen
Anthony
him fight.
Durrell, dude.
I've seen him fight other, good fighters, and I've seen Callum Smith
Who'd you see him
also
fight?
fight.
Who'd you
I've
see
seen
him
But
fight?
Callum Smith.
who have you seen David Benavidez fight apart from Durrell? And
Dude,
who else?
I've seen all the fights. Don't worry.
Yeah. So
Let's talk about. Hang
where
on.
you going with David Benavidez is
Let's talk about
David
that bum.
Benavidez. Okay, let's keep it real. David Benavidez has to prove himself, bro. He has
eh,
to
Yes.
prove himself.
Well, to you, he has to prove
Not
himself.
just to me, to the rest of the boxing world. He has to be elite to be that man, really.
Well, the elites better stop ducking him like Canelo
That's
is.
another question. That's
But
another
he hasn't beat
statement.
So talk
anybody,
about
though,
Callum
bro.
Smith. Who did he beat in this
Never
this
mind
big
Callum
tournament,
Smith. Never
bro?
mind Callum Smith,
Who
though.
did he beat?
David
George Rose.
Okay, who did
Shot
David
George
Benavidez
Rose,
beat, though? Who did David Benavidez
and then
fight?
he beat some
Good, man.
kickboxer. He couldn't even stop this kickboxer.
Yeah, but
He
we're
took
not
it to a
talking about
decision,
him, though. We're
and all of
talking
a
about
sudden, this
David
guy's the
Benavidez.
man. This guy's a
David
pussy. He got
Benavidez
walked
fought.
down. He got walked down by John Ryder and beat up. Then Canelo
Yeah, but
saw this. He goes,
we're
"Hang
not
on,
talking about him, though.
this
We're talking
guy's
about
been
David
exposed.
Benavidez.
Now I'm going to go fight this guy when it's
you know,
safe.
you
So
know
you're,
what?
so
When
you're
it's
arguing
safe."
about Callum
You're
He didn't
Smith.
funny.
want to
I
fight
don't know
You're a
before.
why.
funny guy, though. I like that. You're a funny guy. But what I will
This was
say
a
is,
cherry pick. Callum Smith was a cherry pick.
Dude,
That's
no
the
but
one is
what I'm
truth.
saying is,
no
That's
one
the
is talking
fact.
Callum
about
Smith
Callum
had the
Smith.
belts. You fucking knob. He had the
That
fucking belts.
yeah.
What's he meant to
Okay,
do?
let's talk about the belts.
He had the fucking belts.
Why
You
was the
clunker.
why was the
Stop it.
WBC belt given
Stop it.
in
He had the
that
belts.
fight?
Listen. Canelo Alvarez became an undisputed champion in fucking 12 months.
Who did he beat? Who
He
did he
beat
beat? That's the
fucking.
question.
He
That's what
beat
I
the
care about.
guys. He beat the guys who had the fucking
Yeah, he beat
belts.
all the
Yeah, he
guys
did.
that had the belts.
Yeah, he
Every
did.
one of
But the
them.
And let
problem
me
is
ask you this: Why
they're
you can?
bums.
Yeah,
Those
but you
guys are
can't say
bums. That's
that.
the
No,
problem.
come on. You can't say that, bro. They were the champions. If they're bums to you, then that's the champions of today.
Dude, they were
Yeah, the
they
shit
were
house. Yeah,
undefeated. They were
David
shit house.
undefeated.
Benavidez hasn't beaten those guys yet.
Are
The
you
ones that
saying
you're
like?
fucking calling bums. David
Are you,
Benavidez hasn't beaten those fucking guys yet.
Yeah, he hasn't fought anyone close to
Let's
them.
because they're
just
scared
keep
to
it
fight him.
facts,
They're
bro.
scared to
Let's not
fight
get
him. That's
into
why.
feelings out here, man.
Dude, he
They're
Let's
hasn't
keep
scared.
this
fought
That's
shit
why.
anyone even
facts.
close to those guys. He's fought
Okay, Callum
Anthony
David
Smith.
Durrell.
Benavidez
Now
hasn't even beaten the guys that you're calling fucking
Yeah,
bums
exactly. Not
right
even
now.
close.
he beat
Not even
better
close.
guys. He beat better guys.
No, he
No,
Durrell
he
was better than
didn't.
hasn't.
No,
them.
he did not. He did
Anthony
not.
Durrell was better.
Nah, come on.
Anthony
Now
Durrell
you're
is
going
not
somewhere
better.
else with this. Come on.
Yeah, you're starting to
So
trip
let's talk
out, bro.
about.
You're starting to get away from the facts. You have kept it so factual today that I ain't gonna lie to you.
No, now we're talking straight facts. Now
No,
we're
you were
moving up
No,
a
going
but
to
level.
now you're
facts.
talking
Then you've been
crazy,
playing
bro.
around. Then you went to facts. Now you're trying to minimize what
Rapstar,
Canelo is as
let
a
me ask you a
fighter.
question.
Come on,
Let me ask you a question.
keep it
When he
real.
fought Callum Smith, now Callum Smith had the WBA title. Why did the WBC throw in the vacant David Benavidez's title in that fight? That wasn't deserved. He didn't deserve
So
to
who did
David
he
fight
have a
Benavidez
fight?
for
lost his own belt.
WBC.
David Benavidez lost his own belt, and the same John Ryder that
So
you're
make the
going on
fight,
about. John Ryder lost to Callum Smith, regardless of what you said.
dude. Then
Right?
why didn't the WBC say, okay, make the fight Benavidez Canelo for the vacant
Because he lost his
WBC?
belt on the scale.
You
But
know
let's
why?
That's
keep
the
They
it
were in
real,
on
reason.
bro.
it.
You gotta give
They want to
Canelo.
create the cash cow.
All right.
That's
This is
why they
my
gave the
question. All right. We're
WBC
not
belt.
gonna go back and forth. This is my question for you and for the chat and for everyone, because we gotta get past this. Right? I ain't got all day to go back and forward like a kid. Did Canelo Alvarez in 12 months deserves the most highly respect in boxing today? Yes or no? I don't want to hear no conversations. Mirage, yes or no?
What's the question?
The
Did he
question
deserve?
is, does Canelo Alvarez deserve the accolade and respect for beating all the top guys in 12 months for being undisputed? Yes or no?
No.
You're a fucking knob. Let's move on. Mike from Boston.
Your question
Does
Yes.
was
Canelo
bullshit.
Alvarez in today's era, deserve respect for beating 3 champions in 12 months? Yes or no?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, can I
Okay.
reply? Like,
No, you can reply after now. Otherwise, I'm going to mute you because we got to keep it moving. You've been all right so far. Don't let me have to do that. Now, let's go, Frank. Does Canelo Alvarez deserve respect and the accolades for what he's done in 12 fucking months for becoming undisputed? Yes or no?
Absolutely. Who am I to disagree with the world?
That's what I'm saying. This is one guy who says that he doesn't deserve. Now, I'm going to let you now explain why you
Oh,
think he does not deserve to be recognized as the undisputed for beating these 3 guys.
I'll explain with pleasure. So the
Please.
question is, does Canelo Alvarez deserve respect for beating 3 paper champions to become undisputed in like
But
the
they're not paper
weakest
champions, bro.
title
They
run
were the champions.
in the history of the division? No, because you
And
know
let me
why?
tell you what's
They're all
even
paper
worse.
champs.
They
They're
were
all paper
three
champs, and he
unbeaten
never fought the
fighters.
best fighter
They
in the
were
division.
three unbeaten fighters before you carry on.
Paper,
Three
paper,
of them.
paper.
Three of them.
That's it.
Yeah.
Paper.
Caleb Plant was unbeaten.
Who
Callum
did he
Smith
fight?
was unbeaten. Billy Joe Saunders was unbeaten.
Okay. The problem is in boxing, as we know, it's not that hard to be undefeated these days because people just don't fight. So I don't give that much value to this, undefeated. The question is, were they real champions? Now, Callum Smith, he won the title, I think, of George Groves. He was past his prime. Then he won the vacant WBC. That was thrown in. That was really David's belt. That they just threw that in as extra. So he won 2 belts where by defeating, Callum Smith right there. Then who did he beat? Billy Joe Sanders. He's not even a super middleweight. That guy moved up. He won a vacant WBO title. And Billy Joe Sanders, he's a bum anyway. So I don't give him credit for beating for that title. And then he fought Caleb Plant. Caleb Plant, he won the belt of what's his name? He
Used
won
to
a
take
decision.
Yeah, used to
Yeah,
take you or whatever his name is.
Ustatagi, and he struggled at the end of the fight. He was hurt at the end of the fight. He struggled. So did he ever defend the belt? I mean, I don't
So
even know. He
look, I
defended it a
see
couple
you're
of
trying
times.
to criticize
So they're
all these
basically
fighters, but
weak
my question
champions,
is this
weak
to
as
you then.
fuck
Yeah,
champions.
but my question is this: if a man like that beat 3 champions back to back, became undisputed, what other fighter is beating champions like that? Is Andre doing that? Is Jamal Charlo doing that? Is anybody like even Terence Crawford hasn't even had his first undisputed fight
Yeah.
yet? Is anybody else doing even what Canelo Alvarez is doing?
Okay. This is where I'll give Canelo credit. He's doing more than everybody else, and it was a good achievement. I'll give him credit.
Thank you.
It
At
was a good
last, let me
achievement.
give
It
him a
was,
clap. At
yeah,
last, you just gave Canelo a first ever accolade.
yeah. Look, I'll give him credit, but the point is that the credit is overrated. He can still do something good, right? But it can be
Manchester
overrated.
United.
Carry on, guys.
At the end of the day, belts are cool. Belts are cool, but there's so many these days. What I want to see, you need to beat the best fighter in that division. Then I'll take you seriously. Everybody knows here, even the audience, even though half of the audience are peanuts, they know he hasn't beaten the best fighter, the best opponent in David Benavidez. So I'm holding back the credit until he does it. That's the bottom line.
But you do have to admit this though. Those 3 guys that he beat, they all had better resumes than David Benavidez.
No,
All 3 of them
no, that's
did.
bullshit. Bullshit.
Okay,
No, I don't.
okay, how so?
Well, you tell me how so. You just made the claim.
I said those 3 guys, each of them had a better resume than David Benavidez' resume right now. Explain to me how that's not a fact.
My question now is for my friend Mirage. Mirage, if Canelo Alvarez was from your country and your city, would you be proud of Canelo Alvarez in boxing today?
I mean, would I be proud of him?
Yeah.
I mean, sure. I mean, but there's a big step between being proud and like what you guys are talking at.
Tell us, talk to us. So
Well, you can be proud.
my question is for everyone. If Canelo was from where you were, would you be proud of his achievements in boxing and what he's done as a man?
Look, I'm proud of Cambosis, but I don't like him much either. So, I mean, that's your answer. Like, he can be from my country, but I can be reasonable still. I'm not a fanboy.
Mm.
What can I say? And who was that dude? Is he gone?
I
He
don't know
was your
where he went.
ally.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
where he went.
he asked about the
Mike from
resumes. I
Boston.
mean, to me, the resumes are comparable. Callum Smith, he fought who was Callum Smith's best win? Like George Groves. George Groves wasn't even in his prime. Who else?
Look,
I mean,
man, we can critique every fighter,
yeah,
but who has Jamal Charlo fought, bro? Jamal Charlo nearly lost. The same fighter they're slandering Canelo for in America is the same fighter that nearly lost to a fighter called Montiel.
yeah.
Montiel got
Montiel's
beaten
like a
the
cab
fuck. Let me
driver on the
finish.
weekends, right?
Montiel nearly beat the fuck out of Jamal Charlo, bro. And Andre, Andre maybe deserved a chance, but Andre nearly been knocked out by fucking Liam Smith. He got shook. What I'm saying is Andre has never looked great apart from Quigley.
Yeah, he's overrated as well.
The last 5 fights with Andre, he bores people because he also hasn't been making statements unless the statement that he made with Quigley. The problem is all these fighters that you're critiquing, they haven't even done anything what Canelo's opponents have done. And the problem that we're living in today, Mirage, all the other fighters ain't even doing what Canelo's doing. So even if you criticize Canelo, you got to remember that the boxing of the world today, he's doing more than the rest of the guys.
I concede that. I do concede that.
You can't, you know what I mean? I know you probably ain't happy with boxing today, maybe what it was like maybe before. Maybe before the fighters were probably fighting each other way more, right? And today, you're thinking Canelo's this and Canelo's that. Well, the rest of the guys, they're not doing no way near him either.
Yeah, they're doing less. They are doing less.
They're doing less.
Yeah, they are.
They're chasing him.
The only true fighters that's going on, Frank, and the real ones which have challenged themselves above means is Lomachenko, Canelo Alvarez, Alexander Usyk, right? And these kind of guys like Monster Inoue. These guys are challenging themselves. The rest of the guys are still playing it in their divisions. The guys which are going up in different weights, it's these guys. You know what I'm saying? The rest of the guys, they're even
You talk about risk takers, and that's why we love Bam Rodriguez so much. I mean, he could have just stayed at 112 and said, I'm cool, let me just impress people and I'll box my way. But he said, no, give me the fight. I want to prove.
Anyway, man, I'm coming to the last questions, bro. There's a big fight coming up. Love him or you hate him, Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin. 2 legends are coming back in the ring. They are legends of our era. Gennady Golovkin, he said Canelo Alvarez, he don't fight Mexican style. He ain't going to stand next to me again. Watch. And Golovkin knows that he's totally outvoted in this fight. In the 3rd trilogy, he's an underdog now. And a lot of people ain't got Golovkin winning this fight anymore. Canelo Alvarez said he's going to put a statement on Gennady Golovkin. My question is simple to the chat, to the panel, and I'm going with Frank. Is Canelo Alvarez going to make a statement with Gennady Golovkin, like he said he is, like the boxing fans want him to, or is it going to be a tough fight? Those are the 2 ways I'm going to push it to you.
Not only is he going to, he has to. There's just no other way around. If he boxes and wins, okay, he's not going to be as big as he is now. He has to make a statement, and I believe he will.
You think he's going to make a statement on the man?
Yeah, it'll be inside of 6. He will stop Gennady Golovkin.
The same Golovkin that's never been wobbled, really. He's never been stopped. He's never took a knee. Never took a knee. Even though he was losing against Murata. Let's just keep it real, because we ain't got much people to debate now.
Well, listen to when...
he wasn't looking good, but he's never, ever been stopped.
Well, I'm basing it off of what I've seen against Murata and also the way he's been talking. You know, he's talked a lot about retirement. And when you hear guys talk like that, it's already in their head. He said the only reason he was fighting is because his wife had convinced him to come back. And he moved here to the States. And I believe he bought a house in LA. He's never talked like that before. He got rid of his trainer, Abel Sanchez. So, Gennady's, it's not the same guy. This is 5 years ago. He was already older when he came in the sport. So what's going to improve? You're either getting better or worse in sports. That's the rule of thumb.
Okay. What do you think, Mirage? The 3rd fight, is Canelo Alvarez going to make a statement like he said he is going to? Like the boxing fans said he's going to have to? Or is it going to be a tough fight?
logically, like if you analyze the fight logically, it all points towards Canelo an easy win or a stoppage, logically. But I suspect it's going to be tougher than most people think. So I'm really sort of, I think Canelo probably win a decision, maybe 8-4. It'll be more competitive. But if I had to bet money, I'm actually gonna put money maybe on a shock upset, Triple G winning the fight. I think that's it can happen. It is a possibility, even though it's slight. Canelo's cardio is in question to me, in my opinion. I reckon he's slowing down more than people realize, and it should have showed in the last fight. I think if the fight goes late, Triple G might be able to do something.
Okay.
But yeah, Canelo should win. But yeah, it might be more surprising than people think. I don't know. Even though Triple G's old.
All right. Well, let me just say this, man. Hey, big shout out to Benny Gonzalez, Con in the building, Romanian Mike, King Drew, the one and only, LV, Sinister. You know what I'm saying? General. Big up to you, John McSmith. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to say this, smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you've enjoyed the debate today. You might not have liked what you've heard all the time. You might have liked what you've heard at some points. But at least it's been an open panel. It's been respectful. We've had dialogues. And we broke down the Canelo Alvarez legacy and who he is in boxing. But I will say this. Canelo Alvarez has got a lot of pressure in his life right now. Ladies and gentlemen, he's in a very tough spot. Canelo's achieved so much now that he's in such one of the toughest spots in his life that even with Golovkin, yeah, if he doesn't dominate or perform to the next level, people are going to just say he ain't going to beat no Bivol anyway. And just like Mirage, they're not going to think that he can beat David Benavidez. He needs to dominate in this fight and he needs to stop a man that's never been fucking stopped before. I mean, you guys have got to remember this. Gennady Golovkin is the man that you want Canelo to stop. Has he ever been stopped? Has he even done the stinky leg? So here is Canelo in a tough spot where he has to come out and show out. He has to put a dominant performance or people are going to start overlooking the pound for pound guy that where does he go? Is he still that man in the force of boxing? So my question is this. He has to dominate Golovkin. And then where does he go? Does he go and try and challenge the man who beat him? Who beat him most of the fight? Who beat Canelo Alvarez? He has to go and try and challenge him again. So he's already lost to the man. That's what he's got left. Or he goes against another monster who's up and coming, who's young, who's hungry, and his name's David Benavidez. Canelo's in a tough spot now. Because, yeah, he wins the Gennady Golovkin fight. But where does he go after Gennady Golovkin? I'll tell you something. They are going to be 50-50 fights. They're not going to be easy fights for Canelo. Canelo can only tell me that the Bivol fight, I got to favor Bivol. Now, my question is, if the rematch happens with Bivol, who do you favor, Mirage? And who's the guy that you think wins that rematch versus Canelo and Bivol?
Well, my prediction before for the first fight was Bivol clear decision boxes Canelo's ears off. And I think the same thing happens in a rematch, maybe even more clearly. I don't think he beats Bivol.
Well, there you go.
That's why you shouldn't fight him.
So Bivol wins the rematch for you.
Yep. And you also asked where does Canelo go like after Triple G?
Yeah.
I think it depends how he looks against Triple G, don't you think? Like if he destroys and stops Triple G, the Canelo hype train's back.
Yes.
Then maybe he might go to Bivol. But if he has a tough, close decision against Triple G, then that's a real problem. Like I think even retirement might be on the cards. I wouldn't even rule that out. because there's no more Billy J Saunders. There's no more soft Euro fighters in his path. Now we know who's standing in the way. Unless he blatantly ducks and just goes after Munguia or John Ryder, then it's going to be like nobody's going to defend him. Then it's going to be just like, okay, I give up. You know, I confess, I'm scared of Benavidez. Then he's going to be a joke. So he's in a tough spot. I agree. Like very tough.
Anyway, would you say Frank, the pound for pound, one of the ones who's ever achieved a lot in his life? He's in one of the toughest spots. He has to dominate Golovkin in the way of the eyes of the hype for everybody to want the Bivol fight. And the only man that they're really going to accept now for Canelo is David Benavidez. Is Canelo Alvarez now coming to the toughest spots in his boxing career?
Well, he's coming to the end. It's not even just the toughest. I don't think he has many more years left. He's already older. He's fought for a ton of years, been at the top. We've seen it against Bivol. I don't think he should ever fight Bivol again. He'll never beat Bivol. I didn't think he was going to win the first fight. So the best fight and winnable fight would be David Benavidez.
Yeah, I got you.
But you know, when you ask me these questions, I think what I want, and as fans want, but we always have to think about how boxing works. And you have to think, okay, there's no way that Canelo's handlers want him to get with Bivol, you know, and Bivol never wanted to fight. He doesn't want to fight Zurdo. They were trying to make him fight Buatsi because they were trying to save the bag, you know. But he has to fight Zurdo, and I have a sneaky suspicion that Zurdo is going to pull it off, just knowing boxing. And then we have Munguia coming up, so we can kind of already see the chess pieces moving. Because if Canelo's almost at the end, somebody has to come behind him, you know, and that's how boxing is usually worked.
Yeah, man, that's great, man. But you know what, Frank? It's been great chopping out with you. You know what I mean? You're always welcome to the channel, bro.
Oh, thank you.
Always, man. And listen, to everybody who came through, I want you guys to get your last thoughts off. Mirage, your last thoughts, and I'm gonna catch you on the next one, bro.
Yeah, it's been fun, man. Cheers. Yeah, my last thoughts. Canelo needs to stop ducking Benavidez. Get in the fucking ring. I'll be waiting. I want to see that fight.
Mirage, you've been fun today, man. So we catch you on the next one. You're gonna love it. So we're gonna have a debate. I want to let you guys know before you guys leave. The next debate's gonna be the Devin Haney legacy. We're gonna be talking about it.
I might fall asleep during that, to be honest. But
no, but listen,
I'll see what happens.
We're gonna be having a great show on the next one. We're gonna have a debate on Devin Haney. Everybody get ready for the next live. The next live debate's gonna be Devin Haney. His legacy. Did Lomachenko duck him? All the questions around Devin Haney is going to happen on the next live. We're going to have a proper debate. But until then, subscribe to the channel. To the ones which are subscribed already. Enough love from Rapstar, Yo, General, Bacon and Eggs, LV, Sinister. Everybody, get ready for the next debate. We'll be here. I hope you be here. I'm out of it. Peace.
Thank you.
Later, thanks.
Bye.